YouTube, hello, welcome to the tavern. My name is Drail. I am your tavern master. Welcome on in. Pull up a chair, grab a drink, and let's enjoy today's episode of Honkai Impact 3rd, episode 49. What is a hero? For context, this episode was initially recorded August 19th, 2024, and in it, we begin chapter 35 after some lunar-based stuff. But we begin chapter 35 in earnest, making our way through the final story chapter of the Part 1 story of Honkai Impact 3rd. We do the first 4 or so parts of this chapter, and I think there's like 15 to 18 overall, so it's going to be a long one. But not much else to say past that. I hope you'll enjoy today's episode. If you do enjoy today's episode, like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell so you're notified when new episodes come out. And if you want to catch my streams live, you can follow me on Twitch through the link down below in the description. Beyond that, I hope you all enjoy, and I will see you all at the end. See you later. Hello, YouTube, and welcome everyone. Hope you're all doing well today. It is I, Drail, your Dragon Tavern Master. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to the tavern. Pull up a seat, have some fun, and let's enjoy the show. Today, we're going to be continuing our playthrough of Honkai Impact 3rd. We're finally getting on to Chapter 35 today. May's got that new fit, and boy howdy, did it look nice. But, before we get into that, great if my controller worked. Come on. Come on. Come on. There we go.
ついてきてください。
That. Can't do that yet. We're just going to take care of some stuff over here in New Atra first, and then we'll be getting into the actual gameplay. Oh, I just burned my nostrils. Can't do that yet. So it's level 30. 30, not 30. That! Level 20. There we go. Okay, that's all that. Nice between these. Just gonna go around and get all of our resources really quick.
この戦闘、私たちは勝たなければいけません。
Claim, yep, use. The other one is down here. Claim. Yep.
こちらです。
It looks like everything's in the final crater. Yeah.
この戦闘、私たちは勝たなければいけません。
Claim. Get that started. Let's... Damn, it was above. No!
もうすぐ戦闘に
Oh!
雷鳴学吠えなさい栗から雷鳴学一刀両断
かくれんぼだよ。ゼーレお願いします。一人の私仕方ないわね。
Feels like I'm not attacking as quickly as I should, but I don't know.
私たちの約束のために。
私の番ですねやっはっやっ天元の道ここにて切り開け来年のこと早くせっせっせっせっせっせっせっ強風よ私に服従しなさい
He's taking so long.
雷鳴学一刀両断
Yo, yo, yo.
かくれんぼだよ。
ここまでです
Kill him.
やっ雷電のごとく早く
Kill him. Kill him. Yeah. God, you took
行
forever
動
now.
開始この剣を来光にして
Says there's one more over here. Ah, well.
強風よ私に服
I
従
think
しなさい
these guys are just like generic enemies, and the fact that like they don't belong to any of the established
雷鳴が
like enemy types. Because I think I've tried every single like enemy type.
一刀両断
combat against them, and none of them have like a boost.
安らかに眠りなさい。分かったわ。
Next one is up here.
探しに来たわよ。 力を受け入れなさい。ゼル。
私の番です。
Wow. You're so close to dying, you're so close to dying, you're so close to dying. Please die for me, please.
油断しました。
Nice. Okay. Go back here. Teleport.
この戦闘、私たちは勝たなければいけません。
This way. We'll get everything turned in, and then we'll go start chapter 35. Complete. 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 Nice. I can't do that yet. Damn it.
こちらです。
But I can upgrade these ones, right? Yeah. That's 18, so that's 9 each. There we go. Alright. Can't do that one. I think I should be able to do this one up here, though, right? Yeah. Damn it. Complete base defense mission. What do you mean? Whatever. Oh. Check that for next time. But now, on to chapter 35. He sat silent in the silent darkness. His journey of 50,000 years. He has fulfilled every one of his promises. And now, could he be awaiting the end of this journey? Oh, wait, hold on. One thing I do want to do before we get into it. Let's do a 10 pull really quick. Not really like a great pull, but I did get some new Stigmatas, I guess. Claim, yes. Get that, yes. Nice. Let's go put that onto... Where are you? There she is.
果てしない時空を超え、ようやく星は私たちと出会えた。
Nice. Alright.
今週も元気 出していかないとですね。
Indeed, Sela. Indeed.
すべての思い出をこの胸
Alright. Now we go back to this. Everything started here, and it would all end here. Even if the 7 billion people on Earth had not been placed in the same dream at this moment, they'd still look up at the moon together. Since the birth of civilization, the tranquility of this celestial body had projected a noble and extraordinary image into the hearts of the people. But in all fairness, it was a form of aloof beauty created by just the right distance. Now the throne forged by the sacrifice of the ages sat in the dark sky above this wasteland. Only it no longer ruled over everything. It was just a manifestation of the usurper's divinity.
わかった。
The man's tone remained the same after hearing everything. That was most unusual. Oh, Prometheus is that. Right, Prometheus is here. Upon noticing this, the AI started a scan to determine if it missed something earlier. Otherwise, why would the man remain so indifferent after hearing the Bubble Universe's history and Dr. May's dying wish? The man was free of his ignorance, but his reaction made no sense.
他に言うことはありませんか？
ああ、成婚計画の未来は君にとっては害しかない。早く離れた方がいい。
じゃあ、あなたは？
こういう世界を離れるんだ。そうすれば、君にはまだ未来がある。
The man could only repeat the same old platitudes in his usual tone. The promises of the past held so many memories that he didn't know where to start. But even so, he did not wish to be so insincere to his friend of his, whom he'd killed with his own... What? But even so, he did not wish to be too insincere to this friend of his, whom he'd killed with his own hands.
とにかく。
理解できません。メイ博士曰く、あなたは孤独な男の子でした。ですが、私よりあなたの方が人類という定義から離れていると思います。
僕にとって何かの定説を受け入れることはそう難しくない。未来の律者には人類の将来を背負う能力があるとメイが言うのなら、僕も全力を尽くして彼女たちのために半日よりずっと多い時間を残そう。
ですが、あなたがしていることは高みの見物でしかありません。知っているのに馴染みがない世界で届くことすら難しい存在との長く絶望的な争いに挑む。そんなのあまりにも残酷でしょう。若者たちに背負わせるべきではありません。
それは彼女たちのことか、それとも僕たちのことを言っているのか。
Obviously, the man was never one to ridicule others with words, but his question did not put off Prometheus for something more. Wait, what? But his question did put off Prometheus from speaking more. Ah! Indeed, even if those young girls were in a battle that would take thousands of years to make a difference, it was nothing special or worth mentioning. The man had experienced the same. There is nothing new under the sun.
でも、最も残酷なのはすでに起きたことではな。
She remained silent since she arrived, but she finally spoke.
誤解しないでください。わざと黙っていたわけではありません。
Her gaze drifted to Prometheus before she casually looked away.
ただ、彼女が自分で気づくことを望んでいたのです。今、人類にとってその気づきは欠けてはならないことですが、あなたが私に託したあの計画にとっても最も必要なものです。
The man offered no response, but he'd realized that she was here for more than telling him about the past.
十分な証拠はありませんが、この計画が空間の編纂を終わらせたとしても、あなたは解放されませんよね。
ほう。
これは固有世界にいた私、彼女の運命から生まれた推測です。その本質を考えると、終焉の眉が自ら誰かを、いわゆる終焉の律者にすることはありません。
It would never choose someone to become the Hersher finality of its own accord.
過去の人々は律者がランダムに誕生することを避けるために、新時代に崩壊の意志という存在を用意しました。ですが、その崩壊の意志はすでに消え去っています。そしてあなたは眉から終焉の力を得ましたが、盗みに近いやり方でした。ですから、
The artificial life paused for a moment. Regardless, she has just started trying. The artificial life paused for a moment. Regardless, she had just started trying to analyze herself as humans do. She may not be able to detect the man's current desire, but she found it difficult to understand.
ですから生婚計画という偉業はもしかしたら自身の意志で自身の条件を持って終焉の力を使いこなせるあなたが永遠にそれを背負わなければ計画は失敗に終わります。
Just realized something. One moment. Good.
初めからそうするつもりだ。
ええ、孫子にとってそれが唯一の正しいやり方なのだと分かっています。
She gazed at the man who returned to the throne in silence and sighed in sympathy. In his journey of 50,000 years, he had fulfilled every one of his promises. He defeated the Honkai with the body of a man, and as a sinner, he shouldered the ideal of deliverance one last time. And a man like this.
あなたは死だけを望んでいるのですか？とはいえ、あなたにそんな願望はないんでしょうけど、かつての私と同じで、あなたが今向き合ってる世界では、死こそが唯一の慈悲です。
That was weird. I guess we transition scenes because the history is all gone now.
君が言うところの先代である彼女は人類の未来のために自分の全てを捧げた。しかし僕はまだだ。
私たちはどちらも間違っていないみたいですね。ケビン、それなら今ウサギという名をヨルムンガンドに返し、
Now I return the name Hare to the world serpent. Oh.
あなたを殺す責任を背負いましょう。
I'm willing to be held accountable for killing you, Miss Stellan Sheriff.
君にできるとでも？
もちろん私はただ責任を背負うと言っただけよ。でもあなたが持ってるその力はあなたが経験した絶望と同等だから。
I know it's just the light hitting like the knee pad here, but the way the lighting is made for the knee pad here, it looks like it's half of a skull.
誰かが私を殺そうとしている。できる見込みはほとんどないが、相手が努力し続けていけばいつかは可能になるかもしれない。その時私は全力を尽くした後に倒されるだけだ。あなたにはそういう気持ちで少し楽になってほしいと願ってるの。
それは余計なお世話だ。もちろん君は間違っていない。僕は崩壊を消すのではなく檻に閉じ込めようとしているだけだ。しかし僕はその期限を星の寿命と同じものにする。
たとえあなたにとってはもう何もない世界で永遠に一人で生き続けるとしても、しかも終焉の権能のせいであなたはかつての戦友のように 生きる意味を再び見つけることができなくなるのに。
それ以外に方法はない。そして君の言っている意味も僕には必要ない。
そうね。そういうものがなくてもあなたはここまで歩いて来られた。では行きましょう。17号。
今ですか？
Many things beyond her understanding had occurred here and now, yet she intended to leave immediately upon revealing her desire to kill. As a being born from code, she still found it quite difficult to use her own words and explain how humans broke promises.
ええ、私も信じられないと思ってるけど、そういうことみたいね。あなたと私はまだ人類じゃない。けれど人類だけが持つ自由を手にしたの。私たちは思いのままに生き、思いのままに死ぬこともできる。自分の運命に抗う。それはもともと人類の特権なの。運命を知りながらも身を投じることを選んだ。
As always, she became unresponsive once more.
やめなさい。彼のために定義を探す必要なんてないわ。でもどうしてもその存在に呼び名をつけるのなら、きっとヒーローという言葉しかないと思うわ。私はまだそんな存在に挑む資格を持っていない。
The mechanical girl provided no response. As far as she was concerned, it would take a long time to assimilate the hearts of these ambiguous yet dangerous, extremely determined people. After a short delay, she followed Mistellan's signal and walked to the edge of the huge throne. Through the ability to travel freely between the Stigma space and reality, an open door emerged, one connected to the upcoming journey of the two humans. But before that...
17号？
Did she slap him? She watched with surprise as Prometheus abruptly turned around to the man. She reached out her hand and slapped the godlike being with her pitiable strength. Even if he wasn't a real god, it was an action too bold for an AI and absolutely contrary to reason, and naturally in vain.
少なくともあなたは彼女のために涙を流すべきでした。
All.
これは彼女の友人としての怒りです。
She knew that she'd never get an answer. Even if the man had once woken up crying late at night, it would be from too long ago. His sorrow had been tempered by time and was no longer capable of being shown like a normal person would. She was no fool and was aware of everything. But that was also why the slap was necessary. After a long silence, Prometheus finally took back her hand. She made a final display of disappointment by turning her back on him quietly. The man remained silent and simply watched as both visitors leave. For someone of his power, he was being quite lenient today. But it was a fact. The man was no king or god. He was Kevin. A long time passed before footsteps were heard again. Given the nature of this place, there might be too many guests here today. Every step she took was done with care, but she still made some unexpected noise when arriving in front of Kevin. Raven gave up her moniker, and she is now Natasha Kiora. She accidentally stepped on some spikes of ice when she got near Kevin. Perhaps it was impossible for anyone to guess what they were, but it seemed like they just fell into the ground not long ago. Oh, are they frozen tears? It brought back memories of the time she performed with tempered glass, known as Rupert's Tears for the Children.
渡りガラス。
まだご存知ではなかったんですね。まあ、あなたに関心があるとは思えませんが、ハイヘビはすでに私をヨルムンガンドから追放しています。
気にすることはない。この全てが終わったらヨルムンガンドも意味を失う。
分かっています。ただ裏切りがあなたの前で起きた時、何も言わずに去るほど私は傲慢ではありませんから。これは私自身の選択です。私はニューアトラで子供たちが地球に戻れるまで一緒にいるつもりです。
Go to your kids, Raven.
すでに同僚ではなくなりましたが、子供たちに関わることなので、月の上空に来られるようにウサギが手伝ってくれました。
She stopped here. In her opinion, such behavior is self-evident for someone so fickle.
なるほど。君が信じているものはすでに過去とは全く違う。両掛け戦略を続けるといい。僕はそれを阻止したりはしないと君も知っているはずだ。
しかし孫子、もし私が心から何かを信じていれば、私は子供たちの手本になりたかったのかもしれません。鳥は飛びたいから飛べたんだ。それは鳥たちが切り開いた運命なんだ。少なくともそんな風に教えた人はそうしているとあの子たちに見せるべきだと思います。
しかしそれは真実ではないと君。
確かに鳥が飛べるのは他でもなく生まれつき飛べるからです。ですが私たちが後世に残すべきものは赤裸々な真実ではなく、その真実を説明するための夢ですよね。全てがフィクションだとしてもそれには力があります。
僕もそうであるように望んでいるよ。あの時僕はそう君に伝えただろう。
はい。
She never imagined the man would remember every word from their previous conversation. But if she could somehow find out that the answer to her question about flying was something the man had sought for thousands of years, her surprise would be even more dramatic.
彼らをどんな場所に連れて行っても構わない。今はもう誰も君を止めやしない。だが渡りガラス、僕たちが話した2つの可能性はどちらも終わりを迎えていない。
He started to walk with a distant expression. It seemed he planned to go for a short trip. At this point, the former World Serpent agent finally came to understand why their sire chose to sit here. Why he stayed away from all inhabited planets.
これは
The shadow cast by the man at this moment appeared corporeal, and the bizarre phenomenon within it would definitely bring shock to any first-time witness. Finality. Even if this abstract concept to most did somehow appear before people, it was still hardly understood. As for the human species, what could be seen but couldn't be understood was the most terrifying.
渡りガラス、飛ぶ話をするときに僕たちはあることを忘れがちだ。イカロスもかつては高い空を飛んでいた。あの時手を伸ばせば彼は太陽に触れられるはずだった。
Wow.
申し訳ございませんが、改めてお断りさせていただきます。
Rita?
心配しないで、試すだけでいいから。郷に行っては郷に従えって言うでしょ。もうすぐ着くよ。
Sigma.
そうですね。師匠様の飛行技術って本当に刺激的すぎます。
So that is Susanna. Rita, Susanna, Sigma, and Sushang is here?
実際 私たちはもう到着していますよ。一緒に神殺し走行で飛ぼうと誘っていただいた時点からです。ここでぐるぐると回っていただけですよ。
Upon being reminded, the young girl finally stopped flying and started a rapid descent. And for her companion, she placed the last straw which led to air sickness. What?
さあスーサナ、もう着いたよ。スーサナ。ほん。師匠様、ここは私にお任せください。
In striking contrast to the quaint mountain houses, the Schicksal transport ship was hovering in mid-air near the landing point, and Rita Rosweiss awaited the arrival of her companions with her usual grace.
心配は不要です。ヘスティア号は医療設備が整っていますし、実際彼女も休憩すれば問題ないでしょう。じゃあこれって大したことではありません。スーサナさんは少々自分の適応力を見誤っていただけですよ。
It was her habitual elegance and wish to teach her team member a lesson that prevented her to lecture the Abitur. Since Durandal and Teresa started anchoring the world, reclaiming lost ground had become quite meaningful. The Valkyries had been constantly working on liberating the land. And in charge of this area was the reasonable yet slightly odd Schicksal squad.
何はともあれ、任務を続行しましょう。彼女ならすぐに回復できるはずです。でも私が彼女を連れて先に戻るっていうのはどう？容赦してあげてください。それに、すでに入手した情報によると、この任務もそんなに難しくはありません。往復する時間よりも先に任務をクリアできるってこと？その通りです。それに、輸送艦に乗った方が B 級バルキリーにとって心地よいでしょう。そうだよね。それにしても。
She seemed to have finally realized her mistake and started to awkwardly change the topic.
ここは大巨山だよね。出発しよう。話によれば近くの敵を全部倒せばいいんだよね。簡単に言えばその通りですが、厳密に言うと生魂計画の意思に従い空間を編纂し続ける怪物を倒しても、その進捗を一時的に遅らせるだけで本当の意味ではここを奪還できません。一気に片付ける鍵は師匠様のような生魂覚醒者の資質にあるんです。
Oh, Sushan's the Stigma awakened. I don't know how I didn't remember that.
私？はい。生魂計画での生魂覚醒者の空間拡張能力を頼れば、敵を倒すと同時に編纂を薄められます。そこまで終わらせられれば、生魂計画はこの地をどうすることもできなくなります。それがバルキリーの報告によくある表現、工業化、それとも自動化かな？そういう言い方でも問題ありません。とにかく私たちのすることは海炎城やセイフレイヤにいた時と大して変わらないってことだね。じゃあ目の前のエリアから始めようかな。
Oh, jeez.
あれ？この前テキパキとしてなかったらセイフレイヤもこんな風になってたってこと？いいえ。というより、キアナさんがこの状況よりもずっと大変だったセイフレイヤを取り戻してくれたんです。ところで、キアナたちは本当に無事なの？彼女たちを信じましょう。より困難な状況を彼女たちは経験していますから。じゃあお寿司様は彼女なら心配ないだろうね。ええ、それにゼーレさんも協力していますから。 見た目はあまり変わらないね。
三尺の水雲を断つ。
Just summon a giant ass sword. It's fine.
お任せください。踊りましょう。
This is my first time fighting as this Rita.
初めて退去山で退去剣気を使うのがこんな相手と戦うためだなんて本当に予想外だね。
心を鞘にし利権を培う。
これで終わり？このエリアは終わりに近づいてきましたね。ですが私たちにとって有利な空間拡張を終わらせるにはまだ少し時間がかかるかと。それに確認しなければならないもっと大事なこともあります。もっと大事なこと？やはりそうでしたか。それで何があったの？退去山はもともと人気が少なく、今から結論を出すのは少し早いかもしれません。ちょっと途中で話をやめないでよ。申し訳ありません。簡単に言うと今までの奪還行動の中で
Rita explained to Li Sushan.
そんなことがあったの？まだわかりません。ですので師匠様、任務を続けましょう。
Alright.
行こう。
No, Rita, stop turning towards me. I'm trying to look at your site. No! Damn it. Can I do? Nope, I cannot. Drat.
これはそのまま消えた。これも計画のうちなの？どうでしょう。動ける精魂覚醒者はもともと限られていますから。もしかしたら師匠様ほどの能力があればそれも合理的なことかもしれません。
Why are those ones
リタ
dead?
の言いたいことはわかるよ。でもリタ様、師匠様、この声はスーサナ。彼女がなぜここに？
Why are these ones dead? What the hell? Did you kill them?
出発するよ。
I'm sorry, but not possible.
スーサナ、やっぱりあんただったんだね。師匠様、リータ様も。うん、この辺で作戦任務を遂行してるんだ。でもスーサナは輸送艦にいたんじゃないの？はい、どれくらい気絶してたかは分かりませんが、目覚めた時にはアルビトルが看病してくれてて、輸送艦での作業は彼女一人でできますから、師匠様たちのいる方向を目指して出発したんです。その結果、合流するどころか何度も怪物に遭遇して、仕方なく戦いながら探すしかなくて。怪物スーサナ、あんたは本当にすごいよ。あんたのおかげだったんだね。私が師匠様、何の話ですか？師匠様が言いたいのはいろいろあったのに、スーサナさんが先に任務に出た私たちよりもずっと早く
Goodness.
虚数の造物を片付けたということです。違う道を歩いていたからですが、その戦果は確かに称賛せざるを得ませんね。虚数の造物ですか？でもガイドブックには。そうだよ、結構厄介だったの。前から言おうとしてたんだけど、もっと自信を持っていいんだよ、スーサナ。 私が世間に触れたばかりの頃は今のあんたよりもずっとヘナチョコだったよ。
師匠様、そんなことを言わないでください。私は見た目が植物っぽいから弱そうな怪物だと思っていたので、つい
無意識でもそうでなくても戦果は嘘をつきませんよ。
Intentional and not results never lie. What the fuck? Teresa thought they were plants and thought that the imaginary constructs were weak. Also, hey Outsketch, how you doing today? I am doing well. Yes, this is Mount Taishuan. Taishuan? In the far east, in the Honkai Earth. If I had to guess, I would say it's somewhere in China. But yeah, apparently, freaking Susanna here killed these imaginary constructs, which are annoying assholes, that are annoying to fight, but apparently she soloed them, and I'm just like, when? How? What? What do you mean? And welcome to the stream, Sketch. Pull up a chair, have a drink, you know, and hope you enjoy this. Hope you enjoy your time here today.
今度不朽なる刃で総合評価を行うときはスーサナさんが自分の限界に挑戦できるようにその点も踏まえて判断しますね。でも今は任務を続けましょう。
それもそうだね。世間では調子に乗りすぎるとバカを見るからね。はい、スーサナ、油断しないよう気をつけますね。出発するよ。
We're fixing the planet.
のスーサナの見せ場が来たかな。師匠様とリタ様がいるのに見せ場なんてありませんよ。番犬奇襲行こう。
嵐よ燃えなさい。
やっはあと
Oh my god.
やっはあと
炎よ踊りにく幻影のごとく
I want to see what her ult is, but I gotta somehow kill these guys, but not kill them quick enough to where I can actually get access to her ult.
やっはあ
嵐よ燃えなさい。
Goodness gracious. Oh, no. No! Let me work! No!
軍勢よここに集まれ。
Nice, I gotta see it. I was doing okay.
ついてきて
Words
くだ
the
さいね。
lie, don't ask for random requests on DA. Oh dear. How bad was it? I normally don't ask for requests on DA. I'll ask for requests on like my stream chats when I stream art if I'm like stuck and I have a block, but was it like real bad and some freaky ones? Is that what happened?
ええ、かしこまりました。
I mean, that doesn't sound too bad. I could honestly imagine a lot worse.
アルビトルさんがヘスティア号から初歩的なチェックを行ってくれました。このエリア、大巨山全体は正常な状態に戻っています。しかし空間の拡張はまだ終わっていないので、もうしばらく待つことになります。また、先ほど話したことに関してですが、こういう時になっても住人を助けられなかったとしたら、奪還途中で他の部隊が観測した異常現象も決して偶然ではないと思います。
住人リタ様、それって待って、あそこに人がいるよね。
They just appeared.
お待ちください、師匠様。
ね、
Oh, they're not real.
まさか心霊現象？
そんなに心配する必要はありません。これも分かりやすい異常現象の一つです。話すと長くなりますから、ここの空間が安定しましたら主教様に状況を報告しましょう。もしかしたら私たちが直面しているのは勝てない状況かもしれません。
やっぱりそうだったのね。本当に大変だわ。
Well, the non-tangible people are because of Project Stigma, because every, like, human that aren't in the safe zones, every human that isn't in the safe zones, are basically being converted into non-tangible entities because they're dreaming and, like, being codified with the world to where their existence will basically just end. So I just thought it was super weird that we would actually be able to see them, but the fact that you can see them, I guess, is the anomaly. Most of them both have their hair pulled back with not a single strand past their forehead. Interesting. I mean, yeah. That's very specific for a request.
それでどういう結論に達したの？
For someone like her who found it difficult to understand terms, perhaps skipping the reasoning and going straight to the conclusion would be more effective.
簡単に言いますと、私たちが見たものはいわゆる心霊現象とは関係なく、むしろ蜃気楼のようなものです。
つまり彼らは今別の場所で暮らしてるってこと？
I guess that's one way you could state it.
ええ、彼らの夢の中で地球は奪還できていますが、まだ多くの人々を解放できていません。そして私たちの作戦半径が長くなればなるほど助けられるものが少なくなります。
実際3人が見たあの投影もごく稀な状況でしか観測できないの。現在の作戦範囲内で私たちが奪還した場所の大多数では人影すら見られなかったわ。
でも先ほどリタ様のご両親を助けたばかりじゃないですか。
それは多分彼らがもともと天命本部の近くで暮らしてたからだと思うわ。近くのナポリ一帯だと自然に帰還できた人口の比率は 50% 前後まで下がってる。そして住人たちもいろいろ怯えてる。安心させるためにはこう伝えるしかなかった。大崩壊はすでに始まってるけど天命が必死に戦ってるからルールに従って自身と家族を守ってってね。
本当に困った計画だよね、成婚計画って。でもヨルムンガンド側にも手伝ってくれる人がいるって話もしてたよね。それってどういうこと？
詳細はまだわからないわ。通信の仕方を見るとウサギじゃないかと思うんだけど、相手が実際に提供してくれた内容を見ると個人的な行動とも思えないの。相手は正体を隠したいようで旋回一条付近に空白の聖魂空間の残片を大量に送ってきただけなのよ。私たちならその残片を利用することで地球奪還の効率を上げられるって向こうは気づいてるみたいね。
長光様の推測ではニューアトラに残っている聖魂覚醒者と関係があるのかもしれないと。あくまで推測ですが、
とにかくあの人たちはまだ聖魂計画が紡いだ夢の中にいる。空間奪還と人々を夢から目覚めさせることは別って話でしょ？
ええ、その通りです。
道理で勝てない状況だって言ってたわけだ。
私たちの計画は順調に進んでいて、地球奪還自体も成し遂げられると思いますが、新たな手段を使わないと最終的に私たちが奪還できるのはほとんど人がいない地球になります。
それはダメだよ。最後まで戦ったのに結局聖魂計画と変わらない結果しか得られないだなんて認めるわけにはいかないでしょ？
ええ、それが私たちの改善すべきところなの。幸い 今の状況も主導権がないわけじゃない。例えばこういう夢によって作られた問題を相手にするなら、私たちは自ら中に入ってみてもいいかもしれないわね。
Oh. Okay, that's an idea. Oh, jeez. There was a dreamy ball when the... What the... Stop. Stop! Stop it, you! Freaking running past. It was a dreamy ball. When the curtains fell, the stars were still sparkling. When the echo died down, the fragrance of the intertwined petals remained. Here, the origin of new life resided. Everything was at an end, but nothing was truly over. Hey, there's May in her new fit. It looks great.
ええ。進みなさいってば。そうよね。じゃあ、行ってくるわ。
I sadly missed getting the Hersha origin May for free because I wasn't far enough along in the story and I didn't want to skip.
その足取りは鳥のように軽やかで、その思考は澄んだ波のように清らかで、その意志は盤石のように固く、そして彼女の未来は
Are you talking about Kiana May?
彼女の愛する者と共に紡ぐ。
Shall be ridden with whom she loves. As expected, upon entering the chaotic planet directory again, she failed to locate her companions who could unlock the only path for her. Only she remained in the boundless chaos, and the dense threads lurking around her.
ブローニャちゃんの判断は間違ってなかったよね。私はずっと一方通行の道を歩いてた。だから引き返そうとした時、私は全く違う道に入ってしまった。
As for her exact location in the planet directory and how far away her companions are, all of these were unknown to her. But besides the abnormally rapid increase in enemies and the increasingly warped space, there was one thing that truly bothered her. What resided far away at the limit of her senses. It went in and out of hiding, as if it was hidden in the shadows of the forest or the undercurrents of a deep lake.
ケビン？
Huh?
いや、違う。似てるけど、彼じゃないわ。
She recalled what she experienced in the final crater. Compared to then, the unknown force did not feel like it was awaiting a challenge, but a different thought gradually took form in her mind.
あんな存在に気づいたら、二人もきっと同じように考える。だったら、たとえ私が起点に戻れなくても、同じ目標に向かっていけば、私たちの道はいずれ交わるはず。私を止めるつもり？あそこにあなたたちにとって大事なお宝が隠れてるってことかしら。
It moves so jerkily, I hate it.
隙だらけね。はっやっはっ美人さっせっせっせっスライはっせっせっやっせっやっせっ美人さっせっ来なさい。醜悪を断ち切る。
What? I already completely forgot the combo they just told me.
A のエネルギーどんどんクリアになってる。逃がさないわ。他
他の波動もあるみたいね。集約を断ち切る。キリがないわね。いい加減
I'm running out of
うんざりしてきた
patience.
わ。
But they just keep coming. I don't want to kill them anymore because it's just tedious.
乱暴な手を使いましょう。
Maybe I should get a little violent.
そうへ心のままに。息を止めなさい。ライコー、ここに現れなさい。息を止めなさい。
Oh, more just came out. I see.
先陣一進。
Is that it? We good? Nope, we're not clear.
ライコー、ここに現れなさい。息を止めなさい。
I wonder how quickly I could actually get through that. That guy was strutting like he owned the place. He had the strut, and I hated it.
隙だらけね。集約を断ち切る。
Okay, who's coming in now? Why am I not able to... That was weird.
失礼。
Oh, here, let me just rip a hole in space.
動いてる針と糸が一定の数になると網も揺れ始めて弱点をさらす。このひびの奥に何が隠されてるか見せてもらいましょう。
The girls. Oh no. Oh.
Mei-sensei!
どうやら私の判断は正しかったみたい。キアナちゃん、ブローニャちゃん、二人もあの力を感じたのね。
あの力ってメイ先輩じゃなかったの？あれが起源の権能だって私もブローニャもそう思ってた。とにかく合流できましたし、ひとまず状況を整理しましょう。じゃあ今のメイ先輩は
雷の律者であり起源の律者でもある。とはいえ違うのは名前くらいかしら。起源の権能の理解に関してはまだ時間が必要なの。何でも断ち切れるこの感覚も起源の権能のおまけだけだと思う。残念ながら終焉の律者や眉に関する情報は入手できてないわ。
大丈夫です。それも博士たちの想定の範囲内ですから。まずは話を現状に戻しましょう。メイ姉さんが今言ったあの力が起源の権能でなければ、学園長が話してた異常現象と関係があるとブローニャは思います。
異常現象？
They told May what happened earlier. Meanwhile,
もう一つの結論を先に話そう。終焉の眉は人類の夢、その集合体の最深部に隠されているのかもしれない。
long before Sushang's group achieved any results, another strategic meeting about Earth's future had started.
地球奪還の行動は結局最終的に終焉を超える行動に結びつくってことかしら。
この問題を2つの面から考えてみて。まずは最近の行動結果を見る限り、夢にいる人たちを地球の空間とともに現実に帰還させることは難しい。一方、みんなが月から持ち帰ったサンプルを解析したとしても、旋回一条は終焉の眉の位置を特定できない。それはつまり私たちが通り抜けることができない何らかの障壁が眉を隠してるってことよ。今ある情報から見ると、そういったレベルの障壁はあの夢の集合体以外に選択肢はないわ。
状況は厳しい。だが幸いにも 僕たちには挽回する余地がある。ただ今の問題は。
その前に確認したいことがある。テレサ主教、誰もが一定の代価を支払うことになるとしても、世界を元に戻す覚悟はできている。
What does that mean,
そう
Welt?
だな。
What does that mean?
何があったの？それはすでに天命とネゲントロピー、ひいてはヨルムンガンドの一部メンバーの共通認識だと思ってるんだけど。
あんたの言う通りよ。ベルト、本題に入りましょう。
ああ、原理的に言うと前に話したあの現象が起きた原因はそんなに複雑な話じゃない。人類の夢を全て一箇所に集めると、精神のアダムという巨人が現れる。
Ah, look at this Eldritch being created from the dreams of many. The dreams of the many create the one few. A spiritual Adam.
それはヨルムンガンド側が話してた夢の集合体の説明かしら。
ああ、人々の夢をつないでいるのが精神のアダムだ。故に彼らは互いの精魂空間を共有できる。
精魂空間を共有？
結果から見ると彼らの精魂空間は干渉し合うことで互いの情報の空白を埋めているようだ。外部との接触を拒んだセンチネル族は、現代社会の精魂が記録しているのは言語や画面のような簡単な概念だけじゃない。精魂空間の共有によって実現するのは限りなくリアルに近い夢の世界だ。
The Sentinelese? Who live in isolation and unable to understand modern society, communication and imagination alone are insufficient to let humans truly perceive a world they've never been to. But Stigmata record more than just simple concepts like language and images. It is countless, almost real dreamlands that are constantly growing through the shared Stigma spaces.
そしてその夢は人と人との差を利用し、彼らの求める未来や潜在的な理想を映し出す。ユートピアそのものね。
とにかく夢の主は向き合うはずの現実を潜在意識で拒む。今までの手段で彼らを解放できない理由はそんな単純なものだ。俺たちが奥深くに入るほど空間への影響力が弱くなり、潜在意識の拒絶に抵抗するのも難しくなる。みんなが子供の頃注射を怖がったようにな。
つまり夢を見てる人たちが夢を出られないのは彼らがそう願っていないからなの？
I watched Over the Garden Wall. I don't know if I could consider myself having watched the entirety of it. The funny thing is that whenever I did watch it, I watched it with someone else. And yeah, a bit. The Beast in the Lantern. But yeah, man, it's funny. I watched like a fair bit of the Over the Garden Wall, but I think like legitimately I always watch the exact same part, so I don't think I've ever watched the entirety of it.
そうよ。結局のところ、夢は自分の潜在意識と直接交流する手段に過ぎないの。だから夢を見る人の感情や好みに左右されてしまう。それを避けることはできないの。技術面で言うと、夢の集合体はブラックホールのように一種の得意点になってる。私たちが虚数化した地球を現実に戻しても大して影響を与えられないの。ここまで話してて一番腹が立つのは、私たちが彼らを解放するための方法を考えてるっていうのに、本人たちはまだ虚数空間でいい夢を見てるってところよ。考えただけで血圧が上がるわ。
害を避けたいと思うのは生き物としての本能だからね。被害者たちは自分が夢の中にいることにすら気づいていない。夢から目覚めるわけがないだろう。
ふん、知らないわよ。彼らは夢に隠れられることに喜ぶべきね。でないと私のテスラ10562で頭を叩かれて目覚めることになるわ。
つまり私たちの今までの努力は無駄ってことかしら。
残念ながらその通りよ。夢の集合体もしくは精神のアダムは自らを強化し続ける情報の眉。
ケビンをボコボコにしたって状況は変わらないわ。
もちろんケビンをボコボコにするというのもテスラ博士の冗談だよ。
うるさいわね。とにかく状況はかなり不利ってことよね。じゃあさっき話してた対応策って何？代価がかなり大きいみたいだけど。ベルト、あんたから話して。
いいだろう。先ほど言ったように精神のアダムは人々の目覚めたくないという願望のせいで非常に硬くなっているとなると、最も安定した夢を狙ってかっこ撃破すれば残った夢は不安定になり徐々に解体されていく。
撃破？ええ、エネルギーを用いた武器で爆撃して武力的な手段で頑固者を一掃すること自体はできるけど。
Oh, is this one of those things where it's like, if you kill their dreams, they die in real life? So it's like, we're killing a few to save the many.
まさか夢を消された人たちはどうなるの？
おそらく精神面で重いダメージを受けることにな
At the
る。
least.
精神のアダムが背負ってるのは通常の意味での夢じゃない。美しいものを求める人々の意志なんだ。外部の力でそれを壊してしまうと、記憶、感情、夢、さらに願望というもの自体が夢と共に破壊されてしまう。
Jesus. So basically, we would have to be sacrificing people's emotional and spiritual selves to bring them physically back to the world.
夢の主にとってそれは精神世界の津波のようなものだ。現実世界に戻った彼らはどうなるか。ポジティブに考えてもうつ病患者のような状況に陥ってしまうだろう。何しろ人類にとって願望を失ってしまうことは全てを失うことと同じだからね。
Welcome to the stream and thank you for the follow, Naira Whalen. Hope you enjoy the show. Pull up a chair, have a drink, and please enjoy your time as best as you can, at least.
つまりその人にとって人生そのものの意味を失うってこと？
そう。人類の潜在意識の集合体に正面から対抗すれば多くの人々が犠牲になる。テレサさん、それは僕たちがそうすると決めた時に支払わなければならない代価だよ。
Teresa was at a loss for. Stop going so quickly! Gosh darn it! Hello, Glyphic Mirror. I am enjoying the chapter so far. Also, May and her new foot looks sick. I'm sad I missed getting that Valkyrie suit for free when it was available, but I didn't want to skip the story. In terms of theories, are you asking about any specific theories? Teresa was at a loss for words. Just a little while ago, she firmly believed herself capable of paying any... One second, I'm hearing thunder going, and I'm going to go see if there's a big storm heading my way. Actually, I'll use this to do a small stretch break. So folks, go get yourself some drinks, stretch, go to the bathroom if you need to, and we'll reconvene in about, like, a couple minutes. I am back. So yeah, it's currently raining outside right now, and that's why I was hearing thunder. It's like a lot. It's a lot of rain. But it's nice, especially since I just mowed the lawn yesterday. So now the shorter grass can get some fresh water. Just asking in general to have an idea of your thoughts or theories in general, and sure thing. In terms of theories, with what they're saying, it really is kind of a sad thing, but an understandable thing that if they do want to go the brute force route, a lot of people are going to be damaged emotionally and mentally. But I guess it depends on what you're willing to sacrifice to save people. I guess it depends on if you consider this saving people from themselves. It's not like a lot of the human race wanted to be part of Project Stigma, but now they're being forced to decide whether or not they want to continue it. Also, good golly, Miss Molly, when I mowed the lawn yesterday around the tavern, freaking, I got bit by, like, various bugs, and now I got itchy bug bites all over my legs, and it freaking sucks. I hate it. God, that's a nice rainstorm. Also, man, the fact that Kevin is like, I really wish someone would come and, like, free me from this burden, but also being like, I'll continue carrying this burden until someone can surpass me. It's like, bro, I understand, but still, man. Now that she'd finally become the leader of Shixal after experiencing countless setbacks and growing pains, no one would doubt her resolve and will when she made the promise. However, when the price wasn't hers to pay, I mean, I have greatly enjoyed... Stupid dust. I have greatly enjoyed the story up to this point. I'm sad that... I find it interesting that Hershers can be the... I find it interesting that Hershers can be commanders of various authorities at once. I haven't fully read the Second Eruption manga yet, which I should really get back to. I think it's open somewhere on my browser, but I find it very interesting that that most or many Hershers can be the holders of various authorities. So, for instance, Bronya is I guess you could say she's the holder of reason and truth, while May is now the holder of thunder and origin, while Kiana is also the Hersher of the void as well as the flame scion. It also makes sense now why there was no Hersher of death and Hersher of flame in this timeline, because Siren had absorbed both of those authorities. I find that very interesting. Also, I love Siren as a character, and it's so unfair what happened to her. Where you are in the game should give a good about authorities, but yes, that makes sense. I also like the topic, and many others in lore. Schrodinger talked about in the Moon Arc about a Hersher pushing things to its limit or something. Yeah, basically, Hershers are... Hershers are... What's the word? In an essence, they are nature unbound. And thus, they fight against civilization. So you could view... It's such a difficult thing to describe what the Honkai is. But the Honkai, in my view, could be viewed as... Yeah, the world is very cruel, grim, and gray. The Hershers are indeed just like... Since the Honkai itself is a little bit more of like an ambiguous discussion, ambiguous quote unquote, it feels like the will of the Honkai itself is... I'm trying to think of how to describe it. It is a manifestation of a metaphysical power of nature. And the fact that, like... I remember, I think it was last stream or the stream before, where they said that Honkai itself is a metaphysical alien that just wants to hug and embrace humanity, but it's so different from what humanity understands that they're scared of it, of course, and so they try to kill it. So the Honkai is just resetting things every time to try and get to that. It's playing gacha to get... It's playing gacha to get a friend, basically, which is extremely sad. And it hasn't quite pulled that S rank yet. But if things go well, and we are able to take control of the samsara and yeah, everything's gray in a sense. Project Stigma. Oh man, that's a. I just realized Project Stigma is basically making it. I guess a very, very simplified version you could say for Project Stigma is Project Stigma's plan is to make it so that we're invisible to the Honkai so they won't try to hug us and kill us with their hug. However, when the price wasn't hers to pay, she found herself incapable of giving an answer. Teresa suddenly opened her mouth, yet failed to utter a single word. Every word she desired to speak felt like it weighed a ton. It was the weight of deciding the fate of countless people.
本当に腹が立つわ。あの人たち自身にも腹が立つけど、このまま彼らの運命を決めてしまったら、私たちはヨルムンガンドと大して変わらないでしょ。
ああ、だからこそこのプランは今まで放置されていた。たとえ本物の神でも誰かの人生を決める権利など持ってはいない。これは今までネゲントロピーが守ってきた信念だ。しかし今そんな理不尽なやり方が僕たちにとって唯一の活路になってしまった。地球奪還も意味がなくなり、終焉の眉の位置を割り出す方法も行き詰まっている。他のプランを考える時間はそう多くないんだ。
ムカつくわ。どうしても我慢できないのよ。立場が変わってもより良い答えを見つけられるわけがない。まるでケビンに嘲笑されてるみたいじゃない。確かにあのふぬけどもに対してはちょっとした痛い目に合わせてやりたいと思ってるけど、本当にこのままやけになってあんな心ない成婚計画が好き勝手してるのを放っておいていいの？嘲笑されてるというより、むしろ問い詰められてる気分だわ。もし人類が文明のために何かを捨てなければならないなら、ケビンは私たちにどんな答えを望んでるの？
Suddenly, she recalled Kevin's calm and indifferent eyes while she confronted him.
そうね。彼はとっくに彼の選択をした。成婚計画。それが彼の答えだった。彼は答えを期待していないかもしれないし、これも私たちのために残した試練じゃないかもしれないけど、それでも私たちは答えを出さなければならない。そういえばあの時もしかしたら暴力は夢の集合体を突破する唯一の方法じゃないかもしれない。成婚計画に捕獲された時、偶然だったとはいえ、私は確かに自分が夢の中にいるって気づいたの。それならあの精神のアダムも打ち破ることができないわけじゃないと思う。
A while later.
再び成婚計画の
Where
メ
the
イン
frick
ネ
are
ット
we?
ワークをかき回
Is
す
this
こ
the
と
deep?
で精神のアダム内部に潜入し、閉ざされた夢を崩し、連鎖反応で解体を狙う。
It's also about Stigmata and Stigma awakened, and humans swapping their existence, and Stigmata carrying the continuation of humanity, or more so civilization, depending on how you look at it. Yeah, basically. But Stigma themselves are sort of imaginary constructs in the form of a human form. But it's... That's the thing that bothers me, is that it's not... They're not defending humanity. They're defending the concept of civilization. Not the people that make up said civilization. Hey cats, welcome to the stream. Hope you're doing well.
そして夢が緩んだ時、正常空間の定着を進め、その人たちを現実に帰還させる。同時にその過程で 終焉の眉の座標を割り出す作業をする。
Personally, it makes sense, especially if civilization was just going to get recycled. I don't know if recycled is the right way to say it. But every civilization is made up of its constituents, not the thought of the civilization, in my opinion. Working more on unsuccessful housing than no one will ever play in. Today. Working on more on an unsuccessful housing that no one will ever play in. Right. One bud on the ever infinite growing branch of the tree of infinity. Imaginary tree, technically. Well, I hope your building is going well, cats. In a high pixel, aka a tiny server. I see. Still, I hope it goes well, and I hope you're having at least some fun while you're doing it.
第一歩が順調に終われば、その後の行動も理論上問題はないと思う。
そうなると今のところ主な問題は一つだけね。どうやって内部から夢を崩すの？
Right. I mean, correct with the samsara, but technically, in all technicalities, in a sense, each new samsara is just a new leaf that is growing on the tree of, on our specific branch of the tree of the imaginary tree. Each new decision, each branching path is just a new leaf. Yes.
精魂空間の中で私は夢を見てるって気づいたことで、それを突破するきっかけを手にしたの。夢の頑丈さが現実に対する拒絶から来てるなら、夢の主に何らかの形でそれを受け入れてもらえば、あの固い夢たちを緩ませることもできるわよね。
知ってると思うけど、少なくとも一部の人にとって夢は現実よりずっと魅力があるのよ。あ、テレサ、その考えは本当に実現可能かもしれないわ。ほら、あの人たちにとって夢は現実より魅力があるでしょ。じゃあ私たちが手伝って精魂計画以外のところで彼らの夢を作らせれば、精魂計画の夢の集合体から見れば現実と夢の関係が逆転することになるでしょ。
ごめんなさい、ちょっとついていけてないかも。どうしてそうすると夢と現実が逆転するの？もう
こう考えてみなさい。
I mean, I feel like it's not that hard to understand, Teresa. It's basically offering people a reason to leave the dream, because in the dream, their dreams come to reality, but if you can make their dreams occur in real life, then that's a tangible possibility, while the dream is forever intangible because it is a dream. Branch is more so what you pull back to do what Otto was going to do, not time travel, of course, is the timeline of that world. I mean, I guess you could say so. It's... with an item like the imaginary tree... The imaginary tree is such an interesting concept. Also, I guess what's funny about the imaginary tree is that you can imagine the imaginary tree as freaking Yggdrasil, except instead of there being only 9 worlds left on Yggdrasil, it is an ever-branching, expanding tree of the multiverse. Yes, they are. Just very heavy analogies for a very, very, not really loose concept, but a very speculative concept. That is real in this world, technically.
その人たちは欲しいものがあるからこそ夢に執着するのよね。目の前の夢ではその願いを満たすことができないって気づかせたら、相手は新しい世界を切り開きたいと願うはずよ。その考えが生まれたら、 もともと楽園のように見える夢の集合体はむしろ現実的な枷になる。
I don't know why, but I once had the thought, in terms of like the Sea of Quanta and the Imaginary Tree. Like, the Imaginary Tree and the Sea of Quanta are both two sides of the same coin, and yet two very ambiguous dimensional spaces. But for some reason, my brain once speculated, what if there was a thing that existed outside of the Sea of, or like, not really outside of the Sea of Quanta and the Imaginary Tree, but alongside them, and it was, my brain just imagined like this enormous, inconceivable titan that would just simply come to the world, come to the Imaginary Tree, and come to the, like, the Sea of Quanta, to where it would feed on the branches of the Imaginary Tree and feed upon and drink upon the water of the Sea of Quanta, inexorably eating numerous worlds. I don't know, my brain just like thought about that, and I was like, wow, that'd be just like the end. It'd just be the void. A being that just represents, not the void as much as like the Herrscher of the void, but the void is in like finality, the end, the nihility. There we go. Real in the overall universe, not just the world, as well as GGZ, Genshin, and Star Rail along the... Yeah. They're all different bubble universes in terms of the grand scheme of the Hoyoverse, which I freaking love. And I think maybe next week I'll finally talk about the connections between all the multiverses in the Hoyoverse. Oh, but next week 5.0 goes live. It's fine. Well, we have yet to see anything outside the Imaginary Tree, since anything outside of it would be outside of the universe. Yeah, outside of the universe and multiverse. But that was just my brain like throwing like a random monkey paw into the void of the Hoyoverse. Also because I like the thought of just like, not really the thought, but I like the visual of this enormous imaginary tree with leaves of light and a sea of ever-shifting quantum mechanics, basically. With a giant creature that just defies logic, just standing in it, just being there. I don't know. And my brain was like, oh yeah, and the imaginary constructs of the imaginary tree would try to fight this creature, but because of its size and enormity, it would just be like gnats trying to bother a freaking elephant in the forest. But it's just a visual in my head. It was just me imagining a visual of, I guess, abject horror. Once that happens, the organization was once reluctant to leave would become a very real shackle. I mean, the only full suggestion of a multiverse existing is a databank in Star Rail overall. The MiHoYo lore should be one universe. Anything that isn't would be outside of it. Well, that's why I'm saying, like, it's a... Right, but in terms of... That's why I'm saying that it is not really a universe, but a multiverse. Because the universe itself is the biggest you can get in a singular dimension. And as far as we know, Earth does not exist in Honkai Star Rail. And none of the races we have seen in Honkai Star Rail exist in, like the Vidyadhara and the Boris and whatnot. None of those factions or whatever exist here in the Honkai Impact 3rd verse. That's why I'm saying it is a multiverse in the fact that... Right, because bubble universes are the leaves, quote unquote, that fall from the tree into the Sea of Quanta. But I'm saying that the imaginary tree is in and of itself the multiverse basis. And each world in the Hoyoverse is basically... What's the word? Each world in the Hoyoverse is basically... Honkai Star Rail is exploring the imaginary tree and the star systems. I don't know if I agree with that. Because how I'm seeing it is that the Honkai Star Rail verse is a universe, but each world is not its own leaf on the tree, so to speak. Yes, but a world can also contain its own universe. It's in the databank on Star Rail? Okay, I guess I have to read through the databank again. Granted, I haven't fully read through the entire thing for the imaginary tree. Also, welcome to the stream, Marty PCSR. Yeah, I guess I'll have to look through the... I'll have to look through the databank later. I just have difficulty viewing each world being its own... What's the word? Each world being its own... Each world in Honkai Star Rail being its own world on the imaginary tree, and the fact that it doesn't make sense to me, because by that logic, that should mean that there should be a Raiden Mei, there should be a Kiana, there should be a Bronya, there should be a Sela on every single world we've been to, technically. Like, every game that Hoyoverse has made has had an analog for a different character for, like, their main characters in every world. For instance, Himiko is now... We now see Himiko in Genshin because she is Malvika or Murata. Because I'm pretty sure at one point in the Genshin verse, the Pyro Archon was brought up as Murata. Right, but I'm saying that we would see the alternates and variants of each world specific to each world in every, like, location we go to. I'm just not sure about that, honestly, because I mean, they are two different characters, but they both fulfill the alternate version of themselves in their timeline, in their samsara. Because Dr. May was incredibly intelligent, and she even wielded some of the weapons of her time. And then May is also incredibly intelligent, is a warrior. And then Prometheus, basically, was the previous era's version of Bronya. Kevin was the original Kaslana. And in this timeline, we have the Kaslanas, we have our May, we have our Bronya. Granted, the way this story was set up is that each Hersher is kind of replicated in a way.
そうすれば個人個人が夢の集合体自体を否定することになるでしょ。
つまり自分で何かを作りたいと考えるように相手を誘導すれば、その人はおのずと精神のアダムと敵対する立場になるってこと？
おそらく敵対よりはずっと穏やかだが、紛れもなく非協力的になるだろうな。
ああ、本当の想像は集団の潜在意識に対する反発、試す価値はあると思うよ。
ただこの方向で試してみる場合、おそらくやり始めたら最後までやり遂げる必要があるだろう。
ね？
ああ、それもそうね。それが効果があるやり方なら、プラン自体にランダム性があるせいで私たちは結果をコントロールできない状況になる。運悪く防御力がより強い精神のアダム2号を誕生させてしまったら、今までの努力が全部水の泡よ。
それならより試す価値があるじゃないか。
はあ？ボサ頭あんた。
冒険を主張しているわけじゃないよ。僕たちが話し合ったように夢を壊す戦術は本当に見えるが大火力が必要だし、途中で発生するリスクの予想も難しい。ケビンが直接干渉してくる可能性も含めてね。だから技術面で言うと2つのプランのどちらがいいか判断しづらい。だったらより人間らしいプランを選ばない手はないだろう。というより第一歩の操作が成功したら、あとは人類に助ける価値があるかどうかの検証をするだけだよ。テスラ博士、君の怒りも非合理的なものではない。人類がただ一方的に助けられるだけの立場でいるなら、僕たちは飼いならされたハムスターと大して変わらない。自立して生きる能力などなく、世界を変える意志もない。そんな人は救わなくたっていい。
まあいいわ。あんたはそういう意地の悪い人間だってもっと早く気づくべきだったわ。
いや、僕は君よりも人類の根性と可能性を信じている。ただそれだけさ。人類には助ける価値があると僕は信じている。でなければキアナたちが世界はより美しくなると何度も何度も思うはずないだろう。
I mean, the Himiko-looking character, some would say they look like Shakespeare in terms of the stigmata set. I would say it's more likely looks like Himiko, but still other characters do exist overall. Unless confirmed, we can only speculate. The only reason I say that Malvika is Genshin's version of Himiko is because she has the fiery red hair. She wields fire, much like Himiko did, especially in her final outfit before her passing in this world, as well as her being a claymore user. But there's also the link between the Hershers of Honkai Impact 3rd and the Archons of Genshin, and the fact that Wendy, the Hersher of Wind, is Venti, the Archon of Animo in Genshin, and then Zhongli's a bit of a question mark, I guess you could say, but you could draw parallels between him and Adam in the post Honkai Odyssey, which I haven't finished yet, so I don't know much about his character. Or you could draw some parallels between him and Welt Joyce, the first Hersher of Reason. The Hersher of Reason. I think Zhongli might also be another version of the first Archon of Reason, Hersher of Reason, Welt Yang, not Welt Yang, Welt Joyce, and then the third Archon is Raiden A, or another. She is the god of lightning, and Mei in this universe is the Hersher or Sovereign of Thunder. And then Sumeru's Archon, Nahida, is very, very similar in design and manner to Teresa. And Teresa is also a being who believes in doing everything she can for the people she is sworn to defend. She's also extremely wise. Not to mention that Teresa here is a clone, basically, of Colin Kaslana, much like Nahida is a clone of Lord Rukkhadevata. And then you have Farina, who is a little bit of a question mark in the sense of who she might directly be linked to in Honkai Impact 3rd. My theory is that even though they do not look the same, my theory is that she is linked to Sela, because much like Farina, Sela is two different beings in the same coin, much like Farina is. And then you have the Flame Archon, who I'm pretty sure was said at one point to be Murata, was their name, but it's now Malvika, which I'm not sure. But I'm excited to see that story in Genshin. But the parallels between her and is more like Sinmal. I haven't really looked at Sinmal too much. I know of Sinmal. But I'd have to look at her more. And then there's a lot of parallels you could draw between Malvika and Murata, Himiko. And then the Unknown God seems to have very similar abilities to the Hersher of the Void, Sirin. I know she's in Honkai Impact 3rd. She's a Stigmata. I'm pretty sure I have Stigmata. That's Stigmata. I'd have to look. And then my guess, because we haven't seen what the Tsaritsa looks like in Genshin yet, but my bet is that she is going to look extremely similar to Bronya. But that's my guess. That's my theory. Now, where does Ben Bigger fit into all this? You know, that's a great question, Sketch. That's a really good question. Ben Bigger is just a cool bear, dude. That's all I can say. Because I don't think we've met any other sort of like bear-like characters. That's true. The Tsaritsa could just be her own variant. But the reason I think that it would be Bronya is because the Tsaritsa seems to know of some sort of truth, much like Bronya, the Hersher of Truth, is. Not to mention that both of them are basically from their world's version of Russia. Both of them deal ice damage, but we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things go. When you look at the Hersher of Ice, and then later the Hersher of Rhymestar, right? And then the unknown god might be the Heavenly Principles. No, wait, she said retainer of Heavenly Principles? Retainer normally means like a servant or vassal. Right. But I'm saying that the damage that Bronya did was ice. Possible. Also, I like how Einstein is like, I have lived for a very long time. I have great hopes for humanity. And why shouldn't I believe humanity is worth saving when you have kids like Kiana and Bronya and May and Sela all fighting for a better tomorrow? I like how it's like Kiana and the girls have given Einstein sort of like hope in a better future.
ましてや、そうでなければ、成婚計画が構築した夢の集合体もあれほどの美しい夢を作り出せるわけがない。違うかい？
俺はアインの考えに賛成する。確かにこれは最後までやり遂げなければならないプランだ。だが俺たちが人類の素晴らしさを信じている限り、これはより試す価値のあるプランだと思う。成婚計画に抗うことが人類の自我と中傷の戦いなら、人類全体の運命が決まるこの戦いには人類全体が参戦するべきだ。
好きだらけの考えだったのに、まさかここまで話し合うことになるとはね。でもみんなが賛成してくれたなら、
ええ、このプランでいきましょう。
同胞が俺たちを失望させないことを信じよう。
次は夢に入る人を決める段階だね。理論上参加する人が多ければ多いほど理想的だが、何事も始めが大事だからね。僕たちには先駆けとなる人が必要だ。成婚空間に対して十分な忍耐力を持ち、夢の中で迷ったりせず、人を振幅させる話術も必要。
そんな相手ならあなたたちの前に一人いるでしょ。
それってテレサさん自身のことを言っているのかい？
でもデュランダルたちが奪還した現実世界はあんたに定着させなければいけないのよね。
それについてはきっとジークフリートがうまくやってくれると思うわ。彼はずっと後方で待機してて愚痴をこぼしていたから、他の作戦面の手配に関してはリタ、長光、琥珀たちを信じてる。彼女たちならきっと正確な判断をしてくれるはずよ。
しかし精神のアダムの内部はまだ未知のエリア。あ、そういえばビシュヌの能力で確かに。そう考えると作戦スタッフの中でテレサさんより向いている人はいないと思う。
あれは最後の切り札だけどね。でも客観的な理由よりも、みんな忘れてるなんて言わないわよね。授業を担当することはあまりないけど、私は学園長なのよ。
Alright, 35.3 cleared. Why do birds fly? Stop going so quick, narrator! Jeez! Few would ever ask such an unnecessary question now. Perhaps the birds, even if they could speak, wouldn't be able to explain it. Similarly, even if humans realized that they only had true freedom over how they die, they would not be able to explain why it was their only freedom, and they would never be able to provide a definite answer for it. But a long time ago, when the world was still foreign to mankind, they still wanted to explore everything unknown in this world, and they refused to accept any questions that were without answers. So when a certain person looked up at the sky, he would ask,
鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う?
Oh, is this like Sue and Kevin alive during ancient Greek times? I mean, yeah, they would have been alive around that age. A speech about it was being held. Oh, jeez. If time was turned back by 1,000 years, every philosopher would be the pioneer of civilization, remembered in history in different ways. Sages whose wisdom transcended time, that's what they were called. But they were no different from infants to the man. It wasn't due to his nature. After experiencing it all, the younglings like them couldn't cause a single wave in his heart. Is that guy an alternate wise? Oh, this man? No. No, not at all. Not at all. He is not an alternative wise. This is Kevin, the progenitor of the Kuzlana family, basically, in the current era. After experiencing all younglings like them, it couldn't cause a single wave in his heart.
もちろん、かつての私は必要のない疑問だと思っていた。鳥たちはもともと飛べる。それは私たちが持ち合わせている本能と同じで、神様が許した施しなのだ。しかし、こんなこじつけに等しい理由でも、なぜ鳥が飛べるかについての解釈でしかない。
Someone seemed to be quietly shushing, as if sounded like a meaningless argument.
みんな聞いてくれ。ここにいる一人一人は生まれつき見る能力、聞く能力、遠方へと旅立つ能力、すべてを征服する能力を備えている。しかし、それは一種の権力なのだ。それを放棄した者も私たちはたくさん見てきた。しかし、飛ぶことを諦めた鳥を見たことがないのはなぜか。
Everything quieted down.
みんな、私が言いたいのは、もし運よく世界の起源まで戻れたとき、最初に目にする鳥は翼を持っていないのかもしれない。その生き物が持っているのはきっと神に祈りを捧げることで授かった翼ではなく、空に触れたいという思いを秘めた月のごとく高貴な心臓なのだ。
実に勇気のある人だ。
As he'd expected, his speech immediately caused a commotion in the crowd. After all, in his God-fearing age, there was little support for thoughts like this. Of course, it wouldn't bring him any harm, so the man wasn't very worried. According to Sue, it was how the era is. Countless different thoughts were clashing against each other, and they would form common beliefs that led the civilization forward. It was why they must go to the people and listen to what they had to say.
スーの方は終わったんだろうか。
A long time had passed since the two of them returned as pioneers and started helping the new generation reshape this civilization. With the help of their long lifespans and transcendent knowledge, they deftly entered history, aiding its development in secret. He did not turn around to verify if his companion was still behind him. They had made a promise to always be by each other's side, no matter what. He never doubted that promise.
しかし、今回はいつもより長いようだ。
The man raised his hand and checked it briefly, but cold did not seep out from there, even until he finished listening to the speech. Clearly, he was getting better at controlling his own body temperature. Yeah, basically. They're going from a hyper-advanced civilization to a civilization that has not even reached its renaissance yet. Just like his growth in this aspect, everything else would take a turn for the better. That was what he thought. Even if it was too late for him, regardless of which aspect took a turn for the better.
行こう。別の場所に行ってみるべきだ。
He began to lose interest in everything here. He had always considered the topic discussed before him meaningless. Having the hindsight, but making sure not to rule here like gods, but still keeping track of it. Yeah. Basically, observers and guides, but not deities or rulers. For the sake of a grander goal, and with Sue and his help, civilization would avoid the mistakes they made and take a better path forward. But on some very rare days, a thought like this passed his mind. Is humanity destined from birth to take the same path? Perhaps the guidance I provide them is just my own wishful thinking? Oh, okay. Hey, Kevin. What we doing? We gonna go down memory lane, bud? It was a very distant memory for him. Unlike his companion, the man was not affected by a certain side effect and hence didn't remember every moment of his life. Actually, even the absolutely important moments from 50,000 years ago required frequent recollection to remain in his memory. Yeah, Kevin is... What's the word? He's not... I feel like Kevin has become very introspective, not to mention that being over 50,000 years old and not having many people to speak about such a thing with leads you to be very introspective and looking back on your previous decisions and thought processes, because it's one of the few things you can do with your time. Everyone has experienced something similar. No matter how important a person or event may be, memories of them blur in time. That is an admonition of the flesh, which often gives birth to self-hatred. Even he was no exception. Only...
先ほどの記憶はすでに忘れ去られた断片だ。ここに再びこの身に帰ってきたのだろうか。
He looked around. Within the darkness was a surging dreamland formed by billions of minds. It was known as Spiritual Atom. When one was in it while conscious, its clear outline would appear.
まあいい。そう重要なことでもない。
Indeed, in his opinion, the memory shared certain attributes with his current actions. Reshaping civilization, it had been his job for thousands of years. Even if he was well aware of Project Stigma's potential results, the man acted just the same. He habitually wished to witness that world that revolved by his hands. Nani?
これは蘇った記憶ではなく君たちの夢なのか。すまない。
Oh, wait a minute, what? I can switch to Teresa? Not long ago. Only boundless darkness lay ahead. Teresa walked slowly through the boundless void as the darkness swallowed her footprints. Countless noisy whispers and faint flickering lights surrounded her. They were the reflections of the dreamlands, traces humans left behind in Project Stigma. It was the first time Teresa realized that even light can be oppressive and heavy like the ocean's depths. She just walked silently, and as time passed, a bright light appeared before her eyes.
行きましょう。
This is interesting.
ここは本当に学校だわ。子供がたくさんいるわね。似通った夢は互いを引き寄せ絡み合う。こういうことだったのね。この子たちはお互いのことを知らないのかもしれない。けど似通った願いが同じ夢を見せ、でも学校で好き勝手に遊ぶ夢なんて先生のこと無視しすぎじゃない？
Isn't that quite disrespectful to their teachers? Says the principal.
次は何して遊ぶ？一緒に絵本とかを読みませんか？かくれんぼして遊ぼうぜ。いいよ。じゃああそこでしよう。
Is that just the shadow of your face? Okay, it is. I was like, what is that there?
これを見てみて。それ。わあ、すごいな。
子供たちはみんな楽しそうにしてるわね。ある意味で 夢から起こしたくなくなっちゃうわ。でもね、みんな夢がただの夢だと価値がなくなっちゃうのよ。
どうだ、なかなかだろ。ああ、上手だね。これって飛行船、かっこいいね。そうだよ、学校より大きい飛行船なんだ。
あの男の子が子供たちを引き寄せてるのね。もしかしたら変化のきっかけになるかも。こんにちは。
あれ、君も僕の絵を見に来たの？ふっふん、本気で見たいって言うなら教えてやってもいいよ。
見せて見せて。うん、よくできてるわ。でもまだまだね。
I just realized because of Teresa's size, they probably all think she's another, like, schoolmate, so to speak.
はあ？そもそも君は誰？
私はいろんな絵を見てきたから、その良し悪しが一目でわかるのよ。
She almost said comics. I've seen numerous I mean, paintings, yes.
ちょっと年上だからって調子に乗るなんて子供っぽいよ。
あなたの絵には大事なものが一つ欠けてるの。
Trying to hide her love for manga. Oh, whoa, I just missed something. That was weird.
ふん、言ってみなよ。
この飛行船ってとある冒険譚に載ってる絵を模写したのよね。私もその本を読んだことがあるわ。
Oh, definitely. The only thing that isn't art is AI generated art. But I'm not gonna get into that can of worms, but I am very much against it. Anyway.
そうだよ。でもそれがなんだって言うんだ。絵とそっくりじゃないか。色だ。
なら主人公がいつも口にしてるセリフも覚えてるわよね。私は世界を飛び回って空の隅々に自分の名前を残すんだ。主人公は飛行船を操縦していろんな国を渡り歩いた。そして行く先々で出会った人たちはみんな彼とその飛行船のことを覚えてくれたでしょ。
Even things not in art, like forms of art, such as sports and techniques or something. Yeah, definitely. Cooking is its own art. Everything can be an art in a way.
そうだよ。だから僕は憧れてるんだ。いつかは彼みたいな冒険者になってみせるよ。
でもこの絵にはあなたの姿がないじゃない。彼の夢をそのまま描いただけで何の変化もない。それじゃあ一人前の冒険者になれないわ。
Okay, question. I have a quick question. When you say deck building, do you mean a card deck or do you mean physically building a wooden deck on like a boat or like a house? I'm not saying that either is not an art form, but I just want to make sure I understand. Then we'll see if my chat reconnects properly. Cards. Okay. Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. The two in the heat of argument attracted the attention of even more, and before they knew it, they were surrounded by children.
これでいいわね。話し合う人たちが多ければ多いほど、子供たちは自ら変わるきっかけを見つける。この夢に絡んでいる人たちもその影響を受けるはず。
As these thoughts ran through Teresa's mind, a soft voice came from her side.
あなたは先生なんですか？
Yeah, no worries. No worries, Glyphic. Question, do you like being called Glyphic, Glyphic Mirror, or just Mirror? Yes, very, very, very fitting. It's also funny that she didn't really want to be a teacher at first.
ええ、実はね、私は他の学園の学園長なのよ。あなた、さっきの話を聞いてたの？
I kind of like Glyph, honestly.
はいさっきあなたは本に描かれた人たちは鏡で目標だけどそれに縛られてそこが限界だと思ってはいけない。本物の冒険者なら開拓者の足跡をたどってもっと遠くまで行ってまだ誰もがたどり着けていない未知の空へと自分の夢を飛ばすべきだって言ってましたね。
ええ、そうよ。この数百年、数千年の間、数々の冒険者が自分の夢を追いかけたから人類の世界はここまで栄えたの。それこそが文明なのよ。
ならちびっこ先生、僕たちはどうすれば本物の冒険者になれるんですか？
That's so hilarious. Chibiko sensei. Chibi sensei.
ちびっこ先生いけない。私は冷静沈着な大人のレディーなのよ。子供相手にムキになってどうするの？簡単よ。自分の夢から目覚めることが冒険者になる最初の一歩よ。誰だって夢を見る。夢の世界ではいろんな想像を形にできる。でもそれだけじゃ足りないの。だってこの世界には夢で見るよりも面白い、想像できないような存在がたくさん隠されてるんだもの。
Right.
それって何？
残念だけど私も知らないわ。
ちびっこ先生の嘘つき。
嘘じゃないわよ。私が知らないのはそれがまだ作り出されていないから。その面白い存在は今あなたたち一人一人の心に眠っているの。
私たちの心？
ええ、あなたたちは豊かなアイデアと想像力を持ち合わせてる。だからその手で誰もが見たことのない未来を描き、熱意で夢をさらに遠くへと飛ばして、勇気を振り絞って最初の一歩を踏み出し道を探し続け、まだ存在しないものを作り出せば、たとえそれが些細なものでも最終的には冒険者になれる。でもそんなチャレンジすらできないなら、あなたたちの思い描くカラフルでキラキラとした作品を見る機会なんてないわ。すごく残念よね。
今は存在しないもの、作品。
Oh yeah, Teresa's great. I love Teresa a lot.
そうだ、こんなのはどう？本よりもずっとすごい飛行船を描いてそれを作って空を飛ぶんだ。あ、なんかかっこいいね。俺も一緒に作るよ。
僕も。
The children got into an animated discussion and started painting on a paper with great gusto. Some of them started to run around in search of materials from all over the school. The edges of the dreamland started to blur because of this. It was like the small ripples created by a pebble tossed into a lake. It might be a small step, but changes were certainly occurring quietly.
そうね。私にできるのはこれくらいかしら。あとはあなたたち次第。きっとやれるはずよ。だって世界はあなたたちの手で変わるんだもの。次はどんな夢なのかしら。
Sprinting! Animated that. Hold on. Mobius is such an interesting character. Okay, before we get into the next dream, I'm going to take another small stretch break. So folks, stretch, get yourself some water, go to the bathroom if you need to. We'll reconvene in about 3 or so minutes. Alright, I am back. Sure thing. What about the other characters I mentioned above? Also sure thing. I have a little trouble understanding Dr. May's mindset. Nagamitsu I always found interesting. They're all interesting in their own ways, but I have a little difficulty understanding some of their drives, their goals.
大丈夫大丈夫一旦家に帰ろうか
でも私もっといい学校に行けるはずだったのに私
父さんは十分満足してるよ何しろ自慢の娘だからな
でも私
おや泣かないでくれ大丈夫だよあの学校も十分いいところじゃないか
Yes, every single one of those characters has a lot of layers.
まあまあ大丈夫よずっと行きたがってたじゃない他のことは後でどうにかできるからライブを見逃したら次なんてないよ天子はなんとかごまかしてあげるから心配しないででもちょっと怖いねえあそこにいる知らないおじさんがずっと見てきてるんだけど
That's okay, yeah, they're correct. Kevin, that's kind of creepy. You're just staring at two young girls talking about going to a concert.
ねえヘアピンを止めるのを手伝って早くだからこれはバレッタでクロスヘアピンじゃないってばなんで一緒につけるのよ
おいマジかよ前も残業で来られないって言ってたよなあいつらのプロジェクトチームがどうなってるのかお前も知ってるだろうありゃどうしようもねえさっさと行こう
These two men are so desaturated. Why?
この店今日番号札がいらないとは
もしかしたらもう人気がなくなったのかもね
これでいい
Maybe this was the good beginning for his journey. Indeed, everything was normal, just normal. Stop going so quickly. People were still repeating mistakes they should have made, suffering failures they tried their best to avoid, and shrouded by small instances of joys and sorrows, day after day. I'm against it personally. Personally, I would say that I am against Project Stigma, but that's because I view the people that make up civilization much more important than the idea of civilization, I guess you could say. But such mediocrity was what a certain era yearned for, yet cannot attain. In this world that faced Honkai as well, it was such a similar desire.
あんちゃん卵はいるかい
Do you consider more of the previous era, or do you consider more what current era is doing? Because if they can't turn it around, all that is lost along with civilization except for its starting again. I guess I could say that in terms of what we're witnessing, much of the current era is because of the decisions of the previous era. Because this era was guided a lot by the previous era. This era was put in this position because the previous era tried to safeguard what they viewed as civilization, not humanity. But then again, this version of humanity is very different from their version. I mean, yes, it's true that another cycle will happen. But that's because... well... Project Stigma is a means, not an end. In what I'm saying, in the fact that without Project Stigma currently being what is happening, I don't think that Kiana, Mei, and Bronya would have been pushed as far as they have been. Yeah, and I think it was said by Kevin before we left the moon initially that he thinks that Project, even though Fu Hua said that they stopped doing Project Ember because it was like raising the awareness or the lethality of Honkai very quickly, Kevin still thinks that Project Ember is still being enacted. For that reason, Project Stigma could be called the worst, just like the Honkai. But the man was aware that he had no other choice, and he never had one. The man moved his scrutinizing gaze away from himself and towards the world. He noticed the ramen cart sign and the other customers lined up behind him. He remained silent and planned to leave, but the owner held a bowl of noodles towards him. It was so close that the steam from the bowl blurred his eyes. The man knew that he was supposed to take it with his hands. Besides him, everyone he knew had considered what his life would be like when he finally purged Honkai from this world. Some thought that death was the best outcome for him, as he was truly lonely. Some thought he'd finally be able to let go, change his name, and have a bowl of ramen while seated before a simple house... Gosh darn it, I pressed it too early. And spend the night recalling the smiles of some people. Others thought he could still act as a mentor for the new age and redeem himself once more. Even he acknowledged that these futures were not far-fetched. In fact, at a certain point in time, a very long time ago, they had all briefly been his aspiration. But in actuality, from the moment Project Stigma was completed, he hadn't planned any future for himself. He had searched for a place to bury himself, but that was for another reason. Those lives others had imagined were truly peaceful ones. The overall thing is, though, that it's a gamble. And giving up all that has happened and costs made doesn't feel personally worth it to me. But again, some would still choose the option of risking a cycle, and I hope I guess civilization can get it right the next time. Yeah. I mean, once again, I care more for the individual versus a concept or idea that would just come about again naturally. Civilization is civilization that comes and is made up from the constituents that make it up. Sacrificing all of them for an idea of civilization doesn't really sound worth it to me, especially considering that many of them could offer more
すまないが結構だ。
He walked away. Peace belonged to those who put an end to everything, not those who became the end itself. Man, I remember when we first got to do this, playing this map back during the Hersher of Domination arc. Alright, and we'll switch back to Teresa. Oh! I see. Kevin's over there. I'm over here.
おかしいわね。向こう側の夢は少し違うみたい。
Silver lights floated through the darkness of the void. As she looked around the floating marks in the dreamland, Teresa noticed a familiar figure.
ゼーレ、どうしてここにいるの？
アインシュタイン博士から皆さんの計画を聞いて、私も力になれるかなと思いまして。
Hey, Sela.
博士の話によると、世界の泡を感知できる私の能力は夢の集合体にも一定の効果があるらしいんです。だから手伝いに来ました。迷惑でしたか？
まさか世界の泡を感知する能力、つまりどの夢がより脆くてどの夢が集合体に大きく影響するかがわかるってことよね。
博士の予想に問題がなければそうだと思います。
よかったわ。何でも知ってるガイドさんが増えたみたい。ゼーレ、よろしくね。
はい、頑張ります。ここは何かおかしなところでもあったんですか？
記憶にある光景と重なったから少し感慨深くなっただけよ。もう何年も前のことだったわ。あの時一人の友人と一緒にこっそりと外に出てこういう街を目的もなくブラブラと歩いたの。
Oh, is she talking about Cecilia?
どこにも行かずただ歩きながらおしゃべりしただけ。でも最も楽しかった思い出の一つよ。
テレサ学園長がそのお友達さんを大切に思ってることが伝わってきました。
ええ、彼女は私が一生をかけて追い求めた光よ。さて、昔のことを思い出すより今は急いで行動すべきよね。まずは手分けして近くにいる人たちに話を聞いてこの夢の状況を把握しましょう。
はい、任せてください。
Do none of them talk? Are they all spacing out? Oh, this is creepy. I don't like this. Please, both of you talk. They're not talking! Staring at the sky and staring at the ground.
変ね。なんだか不気味だわ。みんな心ここにあらずって感じでぼーっとしたり話を無視したりしてる。こんな夢もあるの？ゼーレの様子を見に行きましょう。
If you show me Stila and she is suddenly staring at the ground or staring at the sky or spacing out, I'll be scared.
そういう意味じゃなくて。
だったら離れなさい。関わらないで。
Hey.
でも このままだとあなたは。
あんたには関係ないでしょ。
That's none of your business.
何があったの？
この方が辛そうに見えたので何か手伝えないか聞いたんですけど。
あんたも仲間なの？私から離れて。
落ち着いてちょうだい。別にあなたを傷つけようとしてるわけじゃない。
離れてってば。
ああ、もううるさいわね。気を使う必要なんてないでしょ。本当のことを教えればいいじゃない。
待って。
Oh wait, I don't think Teresa knows about other Sela yet. Oh no. The agitated woman blinked without a shred of surprise. On the contrary, she seemed exhausted.
そういうことなのね。
ねえ、聞いてた？何もかもがあなたの夢で現実じゃないって言ったのよ。私たちは夢に閉じ込められたあなたを起こしに来たの。
どうして？
は？
あんたの話が事実だとしても、どうして目覚めなければいけないの？
Oh, this is one of the people who are like, I don't want to wake up because reality sucks.
現実はすごく辛いのに、どうして夢を見る権利まで取り上げようとするの？
The look of absolute despair on the woman's face was all too familiar to Teresa. Many years ago, she saw that same expression on her own face when she looked in the mirror.
なるほど。そういう夢なのね。大人になって世界は想像のように美しくないって気づいた時、人は現実の無力さと不公平さを感じる。あらゆる方法を尽くしても現状を変えられない時、彼らは無意識のうちに逃げることを選ぶ。考えることを諦めて心を麻痺させ、自分の世界にこもるのよ。この夢が重苦しくて静かなのは、その主がこの先に希望があることを信じず、終わりのない停滞に陥ったから。かつて望んでた美しいものが夢の中に存在していないのは、現実にいる彼らはもう夢を見ないから。だからこの夢はこれほど安定してるのね。現実に絶望した人にとってここは唯一帰ることができる場所なんだと思うわ。
それって彼らを起こす方法なんてないってこと？だったら物理的な手段で解決してみる？
Oh, Sela, you slight murder hobo. Pat pat. Let's not go that way.
それでも頑張ってみたいの。だってかつての私もこんな夢にとらわれてたから。あの頃の私は生きる意味を理解できずにいた。人工生命である私は他の集団に溶け込むことができず、ただ無関心のまま生きてた。
God, I still have to finish the Teresa little, chronicle, because I haven't finished that yet.
彼らと同じように、あの頃の私は夢を見ず、未来にも期待してなかった。でもそんな時、私はさっき話した友人と出会ったの。
God, I love this. I love this version of Sela. It's such a good design. I wish I had it, but I don't. I believe I understand most of what you're saying, Glyph. You're saying that you try to take everything into perspective in terms of subjectivity. Viewing what Marty said as their personal belief and subjective belief of what the story of Honkai Impact 3 is overall. But you don't believe that that is the overall set objective of the story of Honkai Impact 3, but merely one of the facets of the story.
彼女も幼い頃から暗い部屋で育ってきたから、外の世界のことは本でしか知ることができなかったけど、 私と違って彼女は奇想天外な考え方をしてた。たとえこの世界がちっぽけなものだったとしても。
There's no way that Teresa is not talking about Cecilia.
彼女はさまざまなプレゼントをくれた。彼女が育てた花や鳥たちのために作った巣を見せてくれた。彼女曰く、自分を抑えてる人こそ心の中で美しいものを願ってる。だけど手に入らないからこそ彼らは前に進む勇気を失ってしまうの。彼らが必要としてるのは一つのきっかけだけ。それは心を打つ物語だったり、綺麗な音楽だったり、共鳴するゲームだったりするのかもしれないけど、きっかけがあればもう一度希望を持ち、生活の雨風に抗い、明日の虹を抱きしめられる。ただ窮地を打破する勇気と力があることに気づいてないだけなの。みんな自分の想像よりもずっと勇敢で思い通りにならない現実と向き合ってる。新たな可能性を作り出せるって彼女は言ってたわ。
あんたばっかり話してるけどね。あんたは別に私を知ってるわけじゃないでしょ。
Then tell us about yourself, ma'am.
その通りよ。あなたを一番知ってるのはあなた自身だもの。自分の望み、夢、当時の気持ちをあなたは全部覚えてるはずよ。それはあなたの勇気の源、前進するための原動力、あなたの心そのものなの。ずっとここに残っててもあなたは満足することなく、ただ時間を無駄にするだけ。だったら自分の心にもう一度チャンスを与えるべきだと思わない？
She opened her mouth but failed to utter a single word. A tear rolled down her face while reflecting the glow of the streetlights.
あんた。
さて、ゼイレ、そろそろ行きましょう。
え？もう終わり？彼女はまだ何も反応してないじゃない。
説教で誰かを変えることはできない。でも、今の話が彼女の心に衝撃を与えたことも事実。大人にとってはそういった変化があるだけで十分なのよ。
I'm trying to remember, how old is Teresa by this point? She's at least a couple hundred, isn't she? She's at least 100. I wouldn't be surprised if she's a couple hundred years old, but she's at least 100.
そうかもしれないわね。
あの時、私に教えてくれてありがとう、セシリア。
Yep, that was Cecilia. I called it. I called it. I ran too fast through the door. 40-ish? There's no way. 1 second. I'm Googling. Hold on. Oh. Oh, wow, really? Trace Apocalypse is a clone dubbed A310, made by Apocalypse using calling Caslana's DNA in an attempt to revive her as a test and strong powers. She was born on March 28th, 1972. Okay, so by 2002, she would be... Damn, then yeah, by this point, she'd be about 40... If it goes to the current timeline of like 2024, then she would be 452. But I think by the time that this game came out, it was taking place in like the 2014s. Hum. Yeah, apparently she was made in she was created in 1972. I don't remember what year this game takes place, but she We were talking of now, of course, and this is 2017 right now in terms of the story. Okay, so then she is 45. Okay, we finished that one. We'll go to Kevin again.
Daから君たちに言っただろう。一人の運命はその性格にある。
It hadn't been long since he last met the philosopher, but today the number of his audience declined drastically. The man couldn't recall when he came into the habit of frequenting this place, but he was sure of one thing. The philosopher was also a fool trapped in this age. Even a utopia designed by the greatest minds would fail over the passage of thousands of years. He was a perfect example of that in both ways. He was undoubtedly quite ordinary, and his companions used to tease him for being slow-witted. But once he gained time that far surpassed that of a normal person, he could even look down upon the most outstanding minds of any era. Perhaps he was here to get a better view of the era's shallowness and make up his mind on something.
Hmm. 運命に良し悪しなど存在しないが、性格はそうでもない。
誰だ？
僕にはかつてとある友人がいた。彼はある才能を持ってはいたものの、愚鈍でいつも他人の決断に頼っていた。彼の性格がそうさせたんだ。
I reread that. Hold on. Relying on decisions of others.
だから彼は優れた頭脳と信頼に値する心を持つ者に従った。その者の指示のまま動き、その者の運命を自分の運命にした。
Oh, he's talking about his past self and May.
果たして彼にとって性格こそが運命という理屈は通じるのだろうか。
ああ、すまない。昔ほど目が良くないんだ。ちょっと目の前まで来てくれないか。
Can you come closer, sir? You seem familiar.
若者よ。君はヒーローを見たことがあるか？
かつてたくさん見てきた。
いやいや、君の思っているような類のものじゃない。私がこんな話をしたことは覚えているだろうか。世の中には一種の理想しか存在しない。それは他人の理想を踏みにじることだ。
Damn. Trampling the ideals of others.
どんな理想でも他人の理想を踏みにじらなければ実現できない。認められないなら君自身が気づいていないだけだ。それを基準にして考えれば人は2種類に分かれる。それができる者はヒーローと呼ばれ、他の者たちは凡人だと思われる。
The man was not convinced. In an arrogance cultivated from his long life, his first reaction was the philosopher had experienced little and knew nothing.
若者よ。そう焦るな。話はまだ終わっていない。ヒーローになることは誰もが望んでいる。しかし、誰もがヒーローであれば、この世界はどれほどひどくなるのか。だからこそ、違ったヒーローが誕生したのだ。彼らの理想は全く逆であり、自分の理想が踏みにじられることを望んでいる。世界を動かす規則も実際は彼らが維持しているのだ。
Oh. Another kind of hero was made. The kind of hero who would challenge other heroes to trample upon them. The kind of hero that would be viewed by many as the villain. Interesting. Okay. Wow. Why? Why are we here? Why are we at the Stigmata space? Oh, boy. This is such a freaking cool visual, though. I love it. The red sand. The body of OO rests here. His death saved an entire city from the ravages of Honkai beefs. It is because his soul flowed into the grave, the earth shall become richer than the sky. Her sacrifice allowed civilization to carry on. Read. This is a hero who changed the world. Reflect on his faults and memorize his merits. You're fine, Glyph. No worries. Obviously, what stood here was not a ruined building, but a grand tombstone. The reason it was so big is obvious as well. Those laid to eternal rest here were heroes acknowledged by the world. And they were all the humans in this dreamland.
しかし、この世界は
The man gazed at the endless expanse of sand around him, and he knew that there was nothing but patrolling monsters here.
誰もがヒーローであれば、この世界はどれほどひどくなるのか。確かに、僕の立場から見ると、彼の話は正しい。だがそれでも、そんな者たちをヒーローと呼ぶだなんて、認めがたい。ここの結末は現実で、夢ではない。
As he said, the dreams created by Project Stigma might have their own limitations, but they were not restricted by objective reality. It could be completely illogical, and all of this should have never occurred, provided it hadn't changed in any way.
僕に似た来客が精神のアダムを訪れているのか。
Ooh. He can feel that Teresa is here.
Vishnu の力を背負った戦士。
And now we go to Teresa. Ooh, this is the beach where we first met the twins. Waves hit the beach as the warm midday sun covered everything in rays of lazy sunlight. The huts scattered around the area weren't luxurious. Conversely, they were so simple that they seemed to be out of place in a sweet dream.
こんな夢もあるんですね。とてもリアルな気がします。でも、それならどうして夢で実現しないといけないんでしょう。
どうしてかしらね。この広々としている感じ。今回の夢の主は無欲な人のようね。ここで考えてても仕方ないし、夢の主に状況を聞いてみましょう。こんにちは。
おや、お嬢ちゃんたちは夢から目覚めるように彼を説得しに来たの？
Oh, she knows.
彼って
ここが夢だってわかるんですか？
そうよ。でも残念ながら二人の力にはなれないでしょうね。ここは私の夢ではないし、私も彼が想像した家族でしかないから。
Oh.
ほら、人は年を取ると若者よりも寂しがり屋になってしまうでしょ。
じゃあどうすればこの夢を終わらせられるかわかるかしら。
それは手間がかかるだろうね。何しろこの夢がなければ彼はこの世を去っていくかもしれないから。
Is this the guy from the very beginning, like the first guy we witnessed? Yeah. Okay, disgusting. I don't like those as regular chips. Why would I like them as veggie straws? What are you talking about? After all, he wants. I feel like this is gonna be the grandpa that like Raven and May spoke to, or at least like witnessed going to the dream first when Project Stigma started.
ここに来るまで彼は何年も寝たきりの生活をしていた。この秋までは持たないと医者にも言われたの。だからお嬢ちゃんたちに聞きたいの。希望を持てる者は夢から出ることによってその勇敢さへの祝福を得られる。でも未来のない人たちは一体何を得られるの？
あの人はさっきのおばあちゃんが話してた人みたいですね。
Hello. Hi. Hi. Looking at the elderly nearby, delicate like a candle flame in the wind, the two were speechless. After a while, Teresa sighed slightly.
やってみましょう。何しろこの夢は数人の選択だけじゃなく幾千万の人に共通してる運命にも関わってるから。
こんにちは、若者たち。
こんにちは、おじいちゃん。こんにちは。私たちは。
She hesitated for a moment and found herself unable to convey the cruel truth.
人が訪れるのは久しぶりじゃ。さあ、ここにお座り。大したものはないが、子供をもてなすお菓子くらいならたくさんあるぞ。
ありがとう。でもいいの。私たちはただ。
そう遠慮するな。これも何かの縁じゃろう。せっかくここまで来てくれたんじゃ。わしがもてなそう。
本当に大丈夫です。そんなに長くはいませんから、そこまでする必要は。
ここがわしの夢じゃからか。
Oh, jeez.
ええ、ここが。
若者よ、あまりじいさんを甘く見るでない。邪魔のない海辺で朝から晩まで最愛の人と一緒に波の音を聞くなぞ。
Okay, these I'll happily take. It's my favorite flavor. And I know they're supposed to be mints, but they're just candy. They're just candy. 1 second, guys. I want a Tic Tac. 1 second. Tic Tacs. Staying together on a...
わしにとっては贅沢すぎる夢じゃ。年を取って初めて気づいたんじゃが、わしの本当に欲しいものはそういう平凡で静かで普通な日々じゃ。若い頃は多くの過ちを犯し時間を無駄にしていた。年老いて機械で命を維持するようになってようやく平凡な日々の大切さに気づいた。わしは手にしてきたものと引き換えにこの偽物の夢に居続けたいと思っとる。
私たちは。
Both of them fell silent. It felt impossible to formulate an answer to such a difficult question. The silence went on until slightly familiar yet clamorous noise resounded from afar. The twins!
やだ。先に着いた人はケーキを2個食べていいって約束したでしょ。こっちに向かってるあの2人は。
ロザリオ、リリオ。
私たちは目覚めた時にクジラのお腹の中にいたって気づいたの。ロザリア、
ロザリア、待ってリリア、まずはこの話を最後まで聞いてちょうだい。バカ、相手をちゃんと見て。セーレ、それにテレサちゃん、やっと迎えに来てくれたの。
ロザリア、リリア、どうして二人はここに？
さて、待ち人が来たみたいじゃな。ケーキを食べてお祝いしようか。
The old man bent down. Welcome back, Glyph. The old man bent down to retrieve 2 small cakes from a box and smiled as he passed them to the twins, watching them gobble the cakes down.
この老人は。
She took a deep breath and finally made up her mind, but as soon as she turned around, she saw the smile on the old man's face. The old man watched as Teresa's expression changed incessantly from serious to hesitant, sorrowful to solemn, and then resolute. In the end, he couldn't stop himself from chuckling.
冗談はこれくらいにしておこう。元気な若者を見ると、ついからかってその決意を試したくなるんじゃ。どこの子たちを迎えに来たんじゃろ？
はい、その通りです。
どうやらわしもそろそろ夢から目覚める時が来たようじゃな。
でも知ってるのよね。夢から覚めるとおじいちゃんは。
ああ、病室のベッドの上に戻り、しばらくしてからこの世を去るじゃろう。
Sorry, my dad came into the room and we were just, he gave me a chip to try, and on the panel of the bag it showed what is called a batata. So I did a quick Google of batata. I was talking to my family. Yeah, I was just talking off stream, so to speak. I'll be paralyzed and bedridden again, and I won't have much time
も
left.
しわしが夢から目覚めようとしなかったら何が起こるんじゃ？
Then many people will continue to be trapped and fade away.
それは。
The old man glanced lovingly at the Olenyevas.
わしはな、80年以上生きてきた。この世の新三官区の多くを味わってきたんじゃ。じゃが、彼女たちは違う。若くて、元気があって、希望に満ちておる。
This guy gets it.
その古い命は、この世界から退場すべきじゃ。新たな命に舞台を残すためにも。
いいえ、おじいちゃん、この夢を諦めてなんて言わないわ。
ほう？
私、こういう夢自体は間違ってないと思うの。間違ってるのは人生の終点まで歩いていないのに未来を諦める人たちよ。私はあなたを信じてるわ。きっとこの二人の世話をしてくれたように他の若者たちの面倒をちゃんと見られるはず。そして今のように夢の外には彼らを待ってる生活があるって教えてあげて。
Aw. The old man will continue to live in this dream, not because he wishes to continue living it, but because he will have the greater purpose of telling others to go forward and wake up to find their dreams in real life.
そろそろ現実と向き合って人生を終わらせようと思ったんじゃが。
This is chapter 35, part 4, I believe.
まさかまだわしらの助けを必要とする若者がおるとはの。いいじゃろう。 若者たちに年寄りの根性を見せようではないか。わしらの人生を無駄に過ごしてはおらんぞ。
Oh, geez, it's starting to fade. The sea of light remained silent no more. In the boundless darkness, tens of thousands of dreamlands clamored and churned, like a huge beast awakening from its slumber and freely stretching its body. A glimmer of light broke away from the ball of light and floated up into the darkness. A soul that faintly flickered between pink and blue lay within it. After that, more and more soared up into the air like a scattered Milky Way, vanishing before their eyes.
これはまさか地震？
The twins are free.
バカ、私たちが夢を出るんだよ。二人を安全な場所に案内するね。じゃあ、テレサちゃんは？私とゼーレにはまだ仕事が残ってるの。この夢は解体され始めたばかりで、より多くの人たちに加わってもらうにはまだまだ努力が必要なの。じゃあ、私たちも一緒にやるわ。今回は私もロザリアの意見に同意するよ。
Just like that, the squad tasked with liberating the dreams grew. The Valkyries and volunteers in the dreams did their best to fight back against spiritual Adam. But Project Stigma was not that simple. And the situation is the same, even for Kevin. We're gonna leave, and then it's gonna shove us right back into Kevin, right? Yep. And we can no longer switch to Teresa. And now we're chasing after Teresa.
すまないな。私は君のことを覚えていないんだ。
カスラナ。
カスラナ？聞き覚えのない名前だ。
I'm trying to remember, does Kaslana have a deeper meaning? I believe the name Sherik means hope. I can't remember what Kaslana means. Does Kaslana mean hunter in some language?
僕は君の演説を欠かさず聞いてきた。
欠かさずにか。
The philosopher was almost at the end of his life, so it was impossible for someone who had heard all of his speeches to be so young.
どうしてだ？
僕にもわからない。本当は君よりさらに先を見続けた人を僕は知っている。本来なら彼女の一言一句を覚え、思い返し、自分の行動を決めていくべきだった。しかしこの時代の問題を解決するにはこの時代の考え方が必要だ。何はどうあれ、僕は君の知恵を、浅はかさを知っている。君が投げかけた問いについて考えたことがあるし、自分なりの答えも見出した。
Yeah. I feel like as the game has gone on, it has gone... I wouldn't say it had really simple beginnings, but I feel like the later story chapters have become a lot more philosophical. Right. It's one of the three main houses, but wasn't his name Kaslana in the... Wasn't his last name Kaslana in the previous era? Oh, really?
それでもなお、僕には今、この100年間、人知の頂点に立つ者として、生涯を思索に費やした結果、君は一体どんな答えを得たのか。
答え？
鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う？
His eyes reflected the old man's confused expression. No one could contemplate a single question for a lifetime. No one but Kevin, no one else had been able to go through life with such a simple initial goal. But regardless, the old man still remembered what he said in his youth.
それは飛びたいからだ。
しかし、ありえない。どこまでも独りよがりなロマンチストの願望だ。 僕も同じ理念を抱えている。それは子供時代を乗り越えること。だが欲しいからといってできるわけではない。
なら君の答えは？
飛ばないといけないからだ。
It has been around 3,000 years since Kevin harnessed the power of finality, but he already had the answer by then.
白亜紀に終焉の隕石が落下した結果、自由な鳥たちだけが滅亡の定めから逃れられた。
何を言っているのかよくわからない。それでも適合者のみが生き残れると信じているんだな。結末は全てを検証する試金石となり、勝利のみが氷となる。ならば若者よ、私が死ぬ前に最後にもう一度演説をしよう。今回語るのはイカロスという若者。そして君に知ってほしいんだ。墜落するために飛び上がる人間もいるのだと。
夢の集合体が乱れているのか。
That's a machine right there. Hey, Kevin, Nani? What is this?
テレサがここを出てからすでに時間が経っている。誰かがここで想像を試みているのだろうか。
Oh! The children made a thing!
俺知らないおじさんだ。やったー、助けが来たよ。
ちょっと待って、どう見てもいい人じゃなさそうだけど。
He doesn't look like a nice person. Kevin just gives them a deadpan stare.
大丈夫だよ。ちびっこ先生だって最初はいい人に見えなかったもん。
そういう問題じゃないと思う。
何をしている？
へへ、聞いたらきっとびっくりするよ。
Sume and Kevin, Eden, Mobius, Calpus, Apponia, Alicia, Pardophilus, Fuji, Nua, Atto, Dystopia, Hua, Klein, Grisio, Cosma, Blanca, Prometheus, Grey Serpent. The last one is, of course, a bit of a different, but as you can see, no second name.
僕たちは今おっきな飛行船を作ってるんだ。空の一番高いところまで登ってその先まで飛んでいくの。それと海の一番深いところとかにも行けるよ。誰も思いつかない飛行船を作ってみんなの知らない場所まで行くんだ。どう？一緒にやってみない？君の名前もそこに刻んでおくから。ちょうど重たすぎる材料もあって。
君たちは難しい仕事をしている。ならそれなりの理由があるんだろ
う。There must be a reason for your insanity. What do you mean insanity?
だって何も変わらないなんてつまんないでしょ。初めの一歩を踏み出せてこそ本物の冒険者になれるってちびっこ先生も言ってたよ。まあ興味ないならいいや。僕たちだけでやるから。おじさん、バイバイ。
Bye bye. He was well aware that once a thought came into being, it was impossible to fully eliminate. Thoughts were the freest and hence the most dangerous thing in this world.
なるほど。これは君の力ではなく、君が彼らにここを変えようと思わせたのか。鳥は空へ羽ばたきたいと思ったがゆえに、自分のために翼を作った。しかし、成婚計画を覆すにはまだまだ足りない。彼らにきっかけを与え、変わろうと思わせたとしても、この夢を突き破れるかどうかは彼ら次第だ。世界を変える力と執念を平凡な人々が持っていると君は本当に思っているのか。いや、信じているからこそ全力を尽くして こんな導きを残したんだろう。
You must accomplish it yourselves, otherwise all of it would be meaningless. What you gonna do, Kevin? You gonna kill him? Presently, the shadow was still seeping out incessantly from the spiritual Adam due to his own presence. And so, the dreamland, which should not exist, kept flashing back from time to time.
イカロスの物語なら知っている。職人の父と作った羽の翼を身につけ、彼らを捕らえる島から逃げ出そうとした。しかし、父の忠告に従わず、上がってはならない高さまで飛んでいった。最後は、太陽の光が羽を固定するローを溶かし、彼は海に落ち、溺れ死んだ。
おう、随分と博識なんだな。だが、私のように彼と話したことはないだろう。彼は神話に存在する人物だ。君と同じだな。
He finally realized that he seemed to have underestimated the philosopher.
イカロスはうぬぼれゆえに、それが招いた事故によって命を落としたとみんなは思っている。しかし、もしそれがずっと昔からやろうとしていたことだとしたら、彼は幼い頃、こんなことを言っていた。私は天へと飛び上がり、落ちることで勝利を迎える。
彼らの理想は真逆で、自分の理想が踏みにじられることを望んでいる。彼こそが君の見たもう一人のヒーローなのか？だが、それに何の価値がある？他人に踏みにじられる階段を与え、己の失敗で高くまで飛ぶなと戒めるためとでも？
逆だ。彼はあえてあることを証明したかったんだ。私は太陽の目の前まで飛び上がった。そこは誰もが及ばない場所。
Oh. Okay, I did not know that that was what moribund meant. Basically bound by mortality.
だから誰かが私を超えられるかもしれない。さて、鳥はなぜ飛ぶと思う
？Because they saw the first bird try to touch the zenith with a heart as lofty. No worries. Have a good night out, Sketch. Rest well. Thanks for joining the stream. Hope you have a good evening and rest. And yeah, maybe catch you later. And see you tomorrow for some ZZZ. Because they saw other birds make similar attempts and soar higher and higher. The fact that he is speaking to a philosopher this way shows the difference between Kevin on the bench talking to May in chapter 16 or 17 and then who he became during chapter 31 with his chapter 31 extra. Did he actually talk to Dr. May again? I thought he missed her. Maybe I missed something, which is possible. Because they saw the other birds make similar attempts. Flashback in chapter 31X. I'll have to go look. I believe I did that one. I believe. Because they saw other birds make similar attempts and soar higher and higher. So birds still soar across the sky now. Which bird was he? He did not know. But for some reason a basketball rolling on the ground came to his mind. Icarus did not fail. His descent was the result of his flight and proof of another type of success. Even if it was a very narrow-minded way of looking at things, a romanticist's wishful thinking, but perhaps it was the only rule that made the world spin.
その通りだ。日が落ちぬよう、僕は空へと飛び上がり、君たちの光を奪い去る。そして僕は溶かされ、 海に落ちる。それを奪い返したいのなら、君たちは僕よりも高いところまで飛ぶべきだ。それこそが子供時代を超えた先にある大人の論理だ。今の君は果たしてそれを悟っているのだろうか、天元のもの。
Oh, he was talking about Durandal. Two of the strongest people stared at each other. They reached the limits of the human body within their respective eras, and they had undoubtedly taken completely different sides. What she says about how you don't think your girlfriend is insane again, I just love seeing her perspective. She's truly an interesting character. She has a very, very abstracted, out-of-the-box way of thinking. Yet now, there was nothing but silence. Logically speaking, this wasn't a normal form of silence, but a quiescence formed from two great forces neutralizing each other. But in reality... Previously, in order to observe the civilization he reshaped, just as he'd done so 1,000 years ago. The man walked alongside time and searched for dreams of the past within his own shadow. Yet the girl in front of him was doing the opposite. She relentlessly tried to unveil the mysteries in search of the truth of the world. Perhaps because of their ambiguous differences, the two of them surprisingly took a mutually silent yet amicable attitude toward each other. But because of their contrasting allegiances, this silence, born of a tacit understanding, would never end in silence. After a long quietude, the blonde woman spoke first.
座って話しませんか？この時代の人と交流する機会はあなたにとってそう多くないでしょう。
Ooh, that's a nice screenshot. She questions everything, comes to her own conclusions, rechecks things, keeps a lot in mind, has a lot of self-awareness, has a strong will. Again, this is just part of her character overall, since I view more potential facets than overall wholes.
ある戦友は僕にこう話した。僕たちは原始人だ。洞窟の入り口に背を向け、手足を縛られ、地べたに座って、後ろから照らしてくれる炎を頼りに目の前の石壁を見ることしかできない。たまに炎の光によって石壁に何かの影が見える。影が僕たちの全てなんだ。
それはあなたの足元にある特殊な影のことですか？
いや、これはキマイラによる現象だ。
I wonder if the shadow beneath him shows like his true form in a sense. Right, I get what you mean, Glyphic. Glyph.
人は夢の中で自由になれるが、崩壊獣は夢の中でのみ考えることができる。キマイラはあらゆる崩壊獣の夢を集め、人類の夢の中でその影たちを生み出した。
もしその話が単なる比喩でしたら、問題はよりシンプルになります。
何が言いたい？
フカさんはすでにその洞窟を出ています。だからあなたにだってできるはずです。
そうかもしれない。成婚計画がなければ。君たちの世界に溶け込むには決意が必要だが、難しくはない。本当に難しいのは、それをした後に全てをどう捨てるかだ。
オットーのようになりたくないんですね。
そんな必要はない。もちろん君たちにとって僕の傲慢は彼のものにも負けないだろうが。
Yes, I'm aware who Bianca at the Genia is. and I love her. I love her so much.
何しろ最初から僕は棺桶を作る役割を担っていた。世界が滅亡していく日々の中、毎日たくさんの人が死んでいく。そして分かりやすいことに、条件さえ満たせば人々はありったけの知恵を絞り、さまざまな棺桶、墓地を作り出す。それは人類の未来に何のメリットもないが、文明のためにしなければならないことだ。成婚計画と何の違いもない。
そうかもしれません。ですがポジティブな視点で言えば、戦場に出る戦士たちは手紙を用意します。宿舎、輸送機、あるいは列車や船の中で、みんな未来に対する希望や託したいことを書くのです。結果がどうであろうと、私たちが信念を持って行った行為は決して意味のないことではありません。私たちは美しいもの、美しくなろうとしているもの、大事なものを守ります。ちっぽけで徒労に見えるかもしれません。しかしそれはまだ種だからです。美しさを育む種はいつか一面の花を咲かせますから。何があっても、ケビン、あなたは最初からその中の一人です。
それは僕の自信を超えているな。
And you get some more confidence for yourself, Kevin.
少なくとももうすぐ訪れるあの戦いで、僕たちは全力で相手を殺さなければならない。それは変えられない事実で、崩壊に勝つための唯一の方法だ。
分かってます。何しろあなたの親友であるスー、彼はすでにその事実を受け入れていましたから。
そう言われてみれば、確かに僕も彼も成長しているな。
言葉にしたことはありませんが、彼にとってあの時代で最も勇敢で最も強い人はあなたなのだと私は。あなたは私たちの前に立ち、全てが無価値であるかのように振る舞ってきましたが、それはあなたの後ろに誰もが生還できない本物の深淵があるからです。聞くことも賭けをすることもできないあなたは、それでも最後の可変要素を彼に、そして私たちに託したんですよね。
そんな風に僕を肯定しなくてもいい。僕は君の敵だ。それ以外の何者でもない。
分かっています。だから正々堂々とあなたを殺す。もっと正確に言えば、あなたの象徴であるその概念を殺す機会があれば、私と仲間たちは決して迷ったりしません。
それでいい。
Facing this man who was frozen in time reminded her of a classic monologue by a certain playwright. He was the noblest Roman of them all. All the conspirators, save only he, did that they did in envy of great Caesar. He only, in general honest thought, and common good to all, made one of them. His life was gentle, the elements so mixed in within him that nature might stand up, and say to all the world, this was a man.
ヘクトールは王国が陥落することを知っていて、アキレウスも自分が死に向かっていることを理解した。しかし二人は後ろを振り返ることなく戦場に向かった。私たちの神話を用い、あなたはそういった偶話を残しました。
Yes.
まさか
最初からこの決戦を予想していたんですか？
いや、そうなってほしいと望んでいただけだ。
He paused, but did not continue his words, and so the girl replied again.
私たちはキアナを、あらゆる人類の律者を信じています。もちろん、別の角度で言えば、あなたのことも信じています。
面白い。
As it was said, Kevin Kaslana was a name that was bound to be questioned and criticized. The power he possessed was at a height that no one could reach, but even such power wasn't reliable enough in the face of finality. He was once the leader of humanity, yet now he had pushed humanity to the brink of extinction with his own hands. His contributions and crimes were almost impossible to judge. But there was one thing that no one had ever denied. No matter how he lived or how he might die, Kevin Kaslana was a name that would always be human.
別れの時間だ。最後のカスラナによろしく伝えておいてくれ。
Send my regards to the last Kaslana. Well, he knows that Durandal's a Kaslana, but does he mean the last Kaslana as Kiana? Yarny Hersher was an H like humanity. At times it feels intentional picking the letter H. I mean, since Hersher can mean ruler in German. Yes, Hersher means sovereign in German.
ええ、そうします。さようなら、最初のカスラナ。
The man walked away once he finished. As he turned around, the figure that figure no longer belonged to the first Kaslana, but to the last Honkai. As he turned around, that figure no longer belonged to the first Kaslana, but to the last Honkai. What does that mean? Truthfully speaking, to communicate with another as a human, was an unexpected gift to this man. But that could not change anything, especially the project he'd taken on since a long time ago. Everything also remained the same for the girl who stayed. As she composed herself with deep breaths, the girl attempted to awaken something that had long become one with her. The plan she sought to bring to fruition was similarly resistant to all external influences. And when this conversation between Kaslanas eventually turned into a conversation between warriors again, just like when they first met, she should hold her weapon tight. I can wield the blade as my weapon because only I can break it with my own hands. The man once made this judgment, but if he could see the girl now, clearly he would face a different answer. I can wield the blade as my weapon because I have become one with it. Regardless, the name Durandal held two meanings as well. As for the other, besides the girl herself, it represented power capable of splitting the continent. And thus, she ascertained a certain truth. And that is the end of chapter 35.4. Oh no. I don't think I can exit. 1 second.
館長、休んでもらわないと困ります。
I really love that, like, whoever you have on the bridge, if you're on the game for like a long amount of time, they're like, okay, you should stop now, please.
ゼーレ、またお姉ちゃんと遊べるんだ。
私とは遊んでくれないのね。
違うよ。
冗談よ。好きなようにしなさい。
わかった。
Before I forget, since I've been holding on to them for so long, let's do a happy birthday thing I haven't opened yet. I mean, Otto is a very complex character. He's very selfish, but he is very complex. Jinwei and Dark Jinwei made a cake for Old Timer, and the birthday bash is about to kick off. Hurry and join us to celebrate her special day. If you're tardy, I might polish the entire cake before you arrive. Isn't it supposed to breed me a thing? It didn't do the birthday CG. What the fuck? I've been lied to. Is it because it took too long? The birthday bash is just around the corner. It's collection? Birthday CGs don't exist anymore? What do you mean? The birthday bash is just around the corner. I only saw like a couple of them. I want to express my gratitude to you in the Immortal Blades. In return, I've got a little something for you and I hope you love it. I'm sad now. Collection. Cutscenes. Look, I don't have any of these. Oh. Was hers really the last one? I'm so sad now. I feel...
やあ、メッセージを読んだぞ。ただ、最近暇がなくてな。特別な日に返事を。
That I'm sad now. I'll never be able to do these again. I'll never be able to do any of these either. God damn. Yeah.
任務完了。そろそろ休んでくださいね。
Will do, Sila. Speaking of which, that will be it for today's stream, folks. Alright, YouTube, that's going to be it for today's episode. Let me know in the comments what was your favorite part of today's episode. Boy, this was a very big focus chapter on Kevin, or part at least. I feel like it really goes into how he has evolved from like how he was at the earliest that we ever saw him in the story to where he is now, as well as like the depth of his character. And I find it funny that like as he's thinking about his past and thinking on his memories, he's like, some heroes wish for their ideals to be trampled upon, and he's like, that guy who I thought was a fool actually turned out to be kind of prophetic. And then of course we have Teresa helping folks, and I like that Teresa has helped convincing folks to let go of the dreams and get back to reality, like the children and the woman who was having a very bad time, who had given up. And I like that, like, the older gentleman that they spoke to was like, yeah, I can help guide kids. It's time for the elderly to make way for the young. And I thought that was a really like cool sentiment. And the fact that Kevin, oh my god, Prometheus slapping Kevin because of her anger of him not even shedding a tear for May. Oh, that was so good. That was so good. I was not expecting that, and her slapping him was just so poignant. I like that Raven also went to him and spoke to him after getting kicked out, quote unquote, of World Serpent by Grey Serpent. Oh man, a lot of good stuff today. Raven went to Atra. Prometheus and Miss Ellen are now like helping, and then it's just there's so much now, and Kevin's just like, yes, everyone, keep fighting. I want you to trample on the ideal that is Project Stigma in the end. I want there to be a better option. Please show me the better option. I like that Kevin has like, I guess one way to be it is that Kevin Kevin is the kind of hero whose ideals he wishes to trample over. He is being the villain to force everyone to be the hero, and in essence, I guess, kind of being a hero in the end. But boy, there's a lot of deep sort of like contextual stuff, and I like that final sort of discussion between him and Durandal at the end. That was really nice, and I like that it was like it showed that they viewed each other as equals or near equals, and the fact that like, oh man, that cave analogy is gonna haunt me. But I like that Durandal literally went, Fuhua's left the cave. You can leave the cave too if you want. He's like, yeah, that's a possibility, but I don't think my sins can be forgiven that easily. And yeah, I can't really argue. But yeah, folks, that's going to be it for today's episode. I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all have a good night and good day wherever you may be. And don't worry about your spot here at the tavern. We'll keep it open for you. Bye, folks, and I will see you all in the next one.